Yeah.
I think I'm coming in clear. Can everyone hear me on the chat? Say yes. It's a little delayed, so I don't know if I'll see it right away. I didn't have time to set up my second screen here so I could see everything. Oh, people can see you. All right, we're on live.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness.
Welcome to the live stream, everybody. Sweet. How many people? We got 13 people in here. Wonderful. That's enough to start, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how y'all doing? How's quarantine life? We would do this in person, but circumstances have not allowed that recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which brings up the reason for this stream. So I'm kind of glad we can talk about this, though. The stream is only 480p. I think it might be because we're probably 480p screen. It looks good on my phone. I can't tell, but we'll just go with that for now. I'll just adjust everyone's screens to be bigger when we share stuff. So, does anyone else? Is it too hard to like focus on the video, or is it pretty good to see? Looks fine on your end. All right, friend is a trustworthy man. I trust him. All right, we're gonna continue as is. So I have two awesome LDs here with us today. Griffin, right here, right there. He's from Church of the Highlands. He's a lighting designer. Why don't you talk about what your job title is at Church of the Highlands? And yeah, just a little intro about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I am Griffin Cravey. I am the broadcast lighting director at Church of the Highlands. Church of the Highlands is located in Birmingham, Alabama. We're a multi-site campus. We have over 20 campuses at this point that we stream to on the weekends. And so broadcast just means I'm at the main campus. So for anyone not familiar with the multi-campus idea, I'm at the main campus. Each campus has their own worship set, and then we join together for like a little video news package, and then we all watch our senior pastor, Pastor Chris, or whoever the guest is, whatever the case may be, give the message on the weekend. And so that describes my title. I run the lighting at the main location, along with doing set designs, that kind of thing at that location. Also do it on a broader spectrum for the whole church. So what we do is we kind of centrally push lighting design for the weekend so that it feels like a similar experience in all the locations. Sometimes campuses may do their own worship moment or some kind of thing, but we try to stay for the most part fairly uniform across the whole church, so that it's we call it one church and many locations. So you kind of get the same experience, the same thing going on in multiple places. So that's what I do. Main campus, stage design, lighting design.
I think you guys might have to put headphones in.
Put headphones up.
At Calpidol.
It sounds like we're getting feedback on there, and I'm not hearing it on my end, but
Here, I'll throw in some AirPods. Hold on.
Live feed. Let me see if I can hear it on there. Check. Hello. Yeah. Welcome to live streaming, guys. It sounds good on my phone, but maybe it was when I didn't have headphones in because I was just going through the.
Maybe it's recording, guys.
We could be that we're all lighting, guys. Yes.
If Griffin fixes it with his AirPods, it's there, let me know.
All right, let's do a check.
Check.
Hey,
Is that better?
all good?
Check.
Can you all hear now?
Cricket's on there.
Can you ask?
Is that better?
Hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Can they hear me? Not better. All right, let me.
So I guess I need to try, maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Let me grab mine.
It worked during our test. How about that? Can you hear me? Check. Ooh, well, that's loud.
We're just lighting, guys. Give us a break.
Check. How's that? I've got my gaming headset on now. Check. 1 2. How's that, guys? Can you hear me? Okay, they can hear me. Alright, I think
How am I?
we all need headphones. That might be the way to go. The sound guys probably should have been here for this.
Yeah, we should have gotten some sound guys in.
People hear me fine. They said I hear you better, but when Jacob and Griffin talk, there's a feedback loop. Alright, how about you guys talk real quick?
Alright,
Can
I'm
you guys
on.
hear them better?
Headphones now. Check, check,
Yo.
check.
I don't get any loop on mine here. Go ahead and talk again, guys.
Yo, yo, yo.
Check 1, 2. Hello. Should be working now.
Chat
Hopefully.
audience, is that better?
We're all on headphones, so the loop should be on. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
It sounds good on my phone.
I'm getting.
Understand why it's not good. Check, check.
I'm getting messages that there's still feedback.
Are starting to reply. There's some delays. That might be why. I'm hearing better, so let's continue as is. Should we?
Okay.
Should we re-intro you? Okay. Kyle is an audio guy. I trust him.
Cal.
Let's start Griffin's intro again because I feel like the feedback probably interrupted that. So.
Okay. Well, I think I blacked out.
He heads up their broadcast campus. Why don't you explain what we do?
Yes, I'm Griffin at Church of the Highlands in Birmingham. So I'm the broadcast line director, the broadcast LD. So essentially what that means for us is one church in many locations. We have a similar experience across multiple campuses at our church. And so we wanted to feel like one worship environment in many locations. We all joined together for our senior pastor to give a message. So I am at the main campus where I do stage and lighting design for that campus. And then I have kind of a touch in what the lighting looks like at all locations for the weekend. And then we have volunteers we call Dream Team who actually program run and get their own services. So that's kind of what I do.
Awesome. Did everyone hear that okay? They're saying it's back. Nope, it's looping. There is a way to mute all mics if you're not talking. Alright.
So I'm muted.
Let's mute our mics when we're not talking. That should help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't hear me either.
Yeah. So anyway, that's.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? You can hear me?
That might be what it is. There we go. That's better.
Now you're muted. We needed an audio guy.
Right. Did you all hear Griffin's intro though? How about that? Is that
They want you to eat the mic.
Me to eat my microphone. Is that better? Goodness. Alright. Sorry, y'all. I really apologize for this. I'm not echoing because I put my gaming headset in, so it shouldn't echo. Alright. So I think we got everything good. Just when you're not talking, mute your mic. Cool. We heard it. Alright. Alright. Let's welcome now our next intro. This is Jacob Cervantes. He's the LD from the Rock Church San Diego, about 2 hours away from where I'm at. And Jacob, explain what your job is, and yeah, go for it.
All right, let's go back to repeat myself. So yeah, I'm down in San Diego, Southern California, for people who don't know where that is. I'm the lighting designer at Rock Church, the main campus, which is in Point Loma. We have five campuses and another campus which are called microsites, which not necessarily are our campus, but they kind of get broken into these little pop-up tents and stuff around the county and the city. But kind of very similar to what Griffin said. You know, we do one sermon at our main campus at Point Loma, and then it gets played everywhere else. Pretty much live.
I think the echo is you, because we're hearing an echo whenever you talk. It seems.
Really. Let me see my settings here.
Sorry, y'all. No, my mic is muted when he's talking.
Check. How about now? Is that feeling normal? Check. Speakers, Jacob's AirPods. Microphone, Jacob's AirPods. How's that do? I think the feedback loop is back to you, tube.
We're using OBS, so there's not really anything I could do if it's through YouTube because OBS is just streaming directly to that link.
I just double check my settings here.
Why don't you try talking again and see if that fixes it? Because it seemed like it was when you started talking, people started hearing an echo.
Yeah. Can you hear me right now? Right? No problem. Okay, cool. I just checked my Skype video settings. Everything's on my AirPods. So I don't know what the echo would be coming from or the loop.
Does he sound better, everybody?
Yeah. Do I sound just as bad, or did I fix it?
You don't have it playing on anything, right? YouTube? You have it like muted if you're playing it through YouTube?
Well, yeah, it's muted on YouTube. I just closed my YouTube just to see if that helps. Just as bad. Healy told me. What about Griffin? You tried talking. Is that solve anything? If I mute myself and then you talk.
Hey, this is me checking my mic. Yo. They
They're saying the
same.
same. What the heck? Let me see.
Oh no.
Oopsies. Now I get rid of mine. Check. Oh, you know what it might be? It's probably this. Check. Alright, Griffin, talk?
Yo.
Okay.
Do I sound better?
Now, Jacob, talk?
Yes, exclamation point.
Alright, I think I found the issue. I really hate OBS for this reason. And I could totally tell you what it stands for, but this is a church-aimed stream, so... Alright. You guys can hear me fine, though. They just can't see me. So, hang on. Let me, grab my camera here.
Oh my gosh.
Nope, not that one. This is quite the issue right now.
This has been an ordeal.
Sorry, y'all. Alright, hang on here. Video capture device. Boom. Take it off my FaceTime. Bam. Boom. There I am. Boom. Let me move me.
Oh, now you replaced me.
There we go. Woo! Okay. Alright. Now that we got it all working. I think, okay, is that better, everybody? Everybody can hear everybody? I don't think we have to mute our mics anymore. Chat, be nice to me, chat. Okay, it's better. Cool. Alright, just for funsies, I know we did Griffin, and there's obviously about 10 more people, so let's start over. Welcome to the YouTube stream, y'all. Today we're going to talk about the challenges of lighting a service that's now entirely online versus having a congregation in the seats. And my guests here, we have Griffin from Church of the Highlands and Jacob Cervantes from the Rock Church San Diego. And I'm going to have Griffin do his whole intro again about what his job is at Church of the Highlands. Go for it.
Hey, I'm Griffin. I am the broadcast lighting director at Church of the Highlands in Birmingham, Alabama. So I am at the main location. We have over 20 campuses across the state of Alabama, and one we just crossed over into Georgia. And so I run services, program services, and design stages at the main location. And then I speak into the stage design and the lighting design at all of our locations. We have a vision at our church to be one location and one church in many locations. So each weekend, the worship set should feel similar at all of our locations. But we have volunteers, we call them Dream Team, at each location who will kind of pull off the weekend services at each of their locations. So
Awesome, awesome. So that's Griffin. Now let's hear from Jacob. He's a lighting designer, as I said, at the Rock Church San Diego. He's about 2 hours away from where I'm at right now. And Jacob, why don't you tell us again your job title and what you all do?
Great. So hopefully there's no echo now. My name is Jacob. I'm the lighting designer at Rock Church in San Diego, not to be confused with the 3 other Rock churches that there are within like our vicinity. We have 5 campuses that we do on top of an online campus that we have. Pretty similar to what Griffin said. Each campus does their own worship set. Not always, it's not the same as what we do. I think they're trying to work on that right now, trying to work on, getting everybody into one very similar service flow. But pretty much everyone's doing local worship, and we join together with an online or with the stream from the main campus, Point Loma, with our pastor, Miles McPherson. I mainly focus on our Point Loma campus. I try to help out the other campuses when we can, but it's just a little tough with the workflow of doing all the other stuff that we do at our main campus with all our events and stuff. So it's a challenge, but that's what I do in a little recap. You're good. Great. Yeah.
yeah.
Check. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the challenges right now of obviously having to light a service. Oh, that's good now. I turned it up. Anyways, let's talk now about the challenges of lighting a service that's entirely online. Is there any challenges that you guys have faced? If not, how are you lighting it differently than, say, a normal service with an actual congregation in the room? Let's start with Griffin.
Okay, so are there any challenges? I would say yes. So I come from an environment where I'm actually lighting for video all the time. So I have an in-room audience as well as a online / other location audience. So I would say that this transition to being online only might not be as impactful to someone like me who deals with it on a more regular basis. But for a church who's not used to that, it can be a big shock. So some of the things that I take for granted that I think about and do every weekend, some churches may not be thinking through that mindset. So things like the energy of what you're doing, like what does it look like on video, front light, all those things that really make somebody pop on camera, as well as things like, saturated colors, how well do colors show up or not show up, all those things, kind of the places where my head is anyways on a Sunday, or some things that some churches aren't going to be thinking through for a weekend service. So for me, what I try to do on a normal weekend is I'll spend about, I hate to put things in percentages, but I think that's the easiest way to kind of visualize it. So on a weekend, I would probably put about like 40% of my brain power into what does it look like in person for the people who are coming to experience the service live. And then the other 60%, or it might be 50-50, I don't know. But the rest of my brain power, I'll put into what does it look like on the screen. We have over 20 locations that we're streaming to, as well as an online audience that we stream to every weekend anyways. So things like, how does the front light look on camera? Where is the camera actually looking at? Are there lights in the shot? all those different things. Is there dark? Is there black? Is there empty spaces? All those types of things, kind of things that I'm thinking through on a normal basis that we need to think about when we're streaming to online.
Yes. Good stuff. I really liked what you said about that, especially for the. Sorry, making sure my mic's not peaking here. Streaming online, because there are some things that are obviously the same, because some of our churches, especially I think the three of ours, have been streaming while we have an audience in the congregation. But the energy definitely
Yeah.
has to be reshifted, I guess. When you don't have an audience there, the worship team has to like totally envision that, oh, there's an audience there, you just can't see them. And then same with us, when you're trying to change the atmosphere in the room, you're trying to really hone that down from the entire room to where the cameras are at specifically. So I
Yeah.
liked how you kind of meshed that together. Jacob, how about you? Is there anything that you agree with? Anything you want to add on top of that? How do you guys approach
Anything you
it?
disagree with?
Yeah, you could say that.
I disagree. Let's have a fight. No, no, I totally agree with Griffin. Like you said, did you say you have a background in video, or you started kind of in video, or did I hear that wrong?
I started kind of in video and audio. Lighting was the last thing that I actually picked up.
Yeah. Okay. So to kind of tailor off of that, by myself, before I hopped, into the whole church world lighting, I used to work in TV news, and I did that for like 7 years, and they were huge on lighting, the talents, the reporters really well, because, that's what it is. It's like you want to make them look good before their story and stuff. So I was already kind of used to lighting for video. I was already used to TV lighting and that whole atmosphere of stuff. So that definitely gave me a lot of knowledge. Just 3-point lighting, backlighting, all that stuff that's super crucial when you're doing online stuff. So when I came over to the church, I really took that knowledge with me, and I never really neglected, I guess, lighting for video. It was always one of my main concerns. Being like Griffin, like my main thing was video. Even before I hopped in lighting, before news, I used to run cameras and stuff. So video is my huge thing, and I always wanted to make sure that my lighting looks, regardless, big, small, whatever they were perfect and looking good on video. Just because, I hate to say it, but sometimes I feel like our online viewership's higher than our actual physical campus location. So half the time, my priority is lighting for online. So that's one of my kind of what Griffin's saying. Lighting online is a huge thing for me. I have a little monitor. I guess not little, but I have a monitor at the lighting console, which lets me see the whole multi-view of all the cameras. I'm able to see the different scopes and stuff, and really paying attention for that stuff. And then I'm also in a huge communication with our video shader. Do you do that at Church of the Islands? You guys have like a video shader? Yeah.
Yeah,
so we're talking
it's a volunteer, but we're in communication in the service.
Yeah, I think that's key for people who don't do that, for sure. Because as much as you're lighting something, if your shader is not shading the cameras correctly or in a good way, like, what are you doing? Yeah. So I think creating that relationship with your shader is very important. Yeah, that's
actually a great point that you made. Yeah, that's a great point. And I actually wrote down, and you made a point of it, is a reference monitor. So just like a color corrected, balanced monitor that's actually going to show what you're really doing at the end of the day. Because it's one thing to put up a display, right, and like be getting programmed from your team switcher. It's another thing to actually have a reference monitor that's scoped out, that's color corrected, where you actually know what the product is going to look like. And so you know what to expect when it makes it to the end product, whether it's, a phone screen or a, projector or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's key.
Yes. That was like one of my big requests, was making sure I had a monitor that was actually showing me what people are going to see. Because a lot of times it's like, wait a minute, that looked nothing like what it looked like on my monitor. And so I think that's definitely a tool that people should probably look for, is making sure your monitors are very accurate. Especially since everyone's looking at a monitor. Now, especially with all this stuff. All right. Let's move on now to, are there any specific tools you guys are using right now, streaming online, that you probably didn't utilize 100% before, or something that you're like, oh my gosh, thank God I have this now, versus a month ago when you were lighting for a congregation in the audience or something like that?
So I think that's two things. So my first thing would be the money shot. So the money shot, for anyone who's not familiar with it, is your main broadcast cut. So for me, it's right here in my face. It's what you're wanting to see, what's getting the information across. So for me, what I try to do is I try to make sure my money shot is symmetric. So what I mean by that is, at Highlands, I've got a 4 package of Martin Vipers and Quantum washes. But what happens is if you have if this is our money shot right now and you have one light over here, I'm not symmetric right now in my broadcast to you guys. So what I try to do is I try to come up with products or come up with solutions that make everything look symmetric so that it's not a distraction. Everything speaks. Everything either speaks something good or something that's distraction free, or it speaks something bad or something that's filled with distraction. Everything speaks. So for me, what I try to do is I try to make things symmetric. So one product that we found that we really like at Highlands is, and we actually purchased it through E2I, was the GLP X4 bar. So it is a tiltable, pixel mappable, super cool bar light that comes in several different sizes. And we have found to really like that product for our money shot because it's a great little pixelized light that gives you color, gives you something in the background, and at the same time it's symmetric because it's a line fixture. We make sure we way overshoot our broadcast and get the fixture off on either ends of the camera, so that way no matter where they walk, it's in the shot and it looks great. And then the second part of that, I would say, especially like over the last couple of weeks with all the events that have transpired and so many churches are moving to online only, is find things that may be laying around that you might think are junk or things you haven't used in forever that you could repurpose to either like help light a scene or to just be in the background. Like we had some old like blinder, like 4x4 packs and some Dewey lights and things like that we actually set out for a recording we did last week. We captured several worship sets of worship so that, if it were to get any worse, if we were not to be able to get to the church, we could play back those files. Currently, we still are on Saturday recording for Sunday, but just to kind of have that stuff in our back pocket. So those are my two big things, is having something symmetrical in the money shot, and then also just making use of anything you have around that you could, use in your broadcast.
I agree with that. Those X4 bars are.
Speaking of the X4 bar, here's a picture of the X4 bar right there. I love OBS for this reason. I can just add and boom in the feed. So that's what the X4 bar looks like that he's talking about.
Wow, that was so good.
I looked it up real quick and saved a photo. But yes, I love that fixture. It's such a great eye candy fixture, but also it's a psych fixture. You can use it for some cool uplight. It's very universal, I guess. You could use it for anything. I'm going to transition. I guess we haven't heard from Jacob. What is something that you... Same question. Any tool that you're using now that you weren't using before that you're really thankful for that you have now that everything has to be online and you have to look through the lens of a camera?
That's a big question. But I'm going to go into kind of like the different stuff that we did on this last shoot that kind of I was really thankful for of having. To tee off Griffin, the X4 bars, those are awesome. Actually, our Rock Films guy today, that's what our video department's called, Rock Films. He actually texted me today. He's like, "Hey, what are those? My friend in New York at his church was wondering what those bar things are called that you guys had in the background of your worship set today." I was like, "Oh, it's GLP X4 bars." I had them. I didn't even have to move them. We shot this on stage. I just kind of fanned them in, and they provided so much wall of light and color with the haze and all that stuff that it was perfect. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. So just to tee off, the X4 bars have made my life 10 times easier. Even when it's not lighting online, I like to keep it behind our pastor and stuff. Puts a lot of good color, creates, I just like to say it, the wall of light. When you have a lot of good amount of haze beforehand, it really helps you out with that. Or even if you're just going it with pixels. And then the other thing that's also was kind of super helpful, that was kind of something that, I was thinking about when we were recording, was we have this uplight LED tape at the front end of our stage, pretty much all around. And it's Roscoe LED tape. And it was super random. I was just thinking of ideas, what we could do and how we could get some different lighting in. And I glue that at like 50%, and it looked phenomenal. It just kills the black. You see in the background, we're shooting in the round on our stage. So that Roscoe LED tape is great, not only for a normal Sunday. Yeah, you're getting the shadows and stuff on a normal, but even this just turning on when it's not even being used for that, it was awesome. So if you guys don't know what that is, Roscoe LED tape, it's tiny. It literally looks like the Chinese LED tape, but it's legit color corrected, good stuff that you can't even tell is there. Cool, warm, all of that. Yes.
That's right.
And then it comes with this little channel, and we kind of just did it along the whole front end of our stage, and I have it into zone, so we'll have center, left, and right. But that stuff's awesome.
Yes, I love that stuff.
And it's
great.
Roscoe, so you have to
That's
trust
right.
it.
It's the color is going to be perfect, or so they
Color
say.
metered it.
But yes,
We
I
used
trust
the
it.
color meter, Adrian and I, and it looks great.
Yes. Something that I thought was cool. I'm just going to throw this out there. It's the LimeWire, I think, or Limelight. I think it's Limelight. They were
Limelight.
They were talking about the. I don't think it's the. Is it the Roscoe one? It's the little like light, and it like shows true. It's like their digital gel swap, whatever you call it.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cool. It like is really accurate at creating those colors from them. So we're gonna transition now to the questions from the chat. Evan asked, do you guys prefer multi-view monitor or just a program feed? Now, some people might not know what a multi-view monitor looks like. Here's what a multi-view monitor looks like. Boom. Let me resize that. Bam. So essentially, multi-view will show all your different camera angles on one screen, so you could see literally what every camera looks like at the same time. And just program feed is just literally what is going out, the main feed. So let me know, what do you guys, what's your like, do you prefer to see a multi-view or do you prefer a program feed of just what the audience is going to be seeing?
So for me, actually, to answer the question, it's both. So I obviously run all things lighting at the main campus, but then I also a lot of times have control of our LED surface. We run Resolute Arena and a Boreal Hippo from the Green Hippo Media Server Company. And so I am oftentimes in charge of sort of video and lighting. So my particular setup at front of house is I have a reference monitor that's actually getting a router from our switcher. So I could take an individual camera to see what an upcoming moment is going to look like. I can take preview, or I also have a multi-view. My multi-view setup actually is, we have a Ross carbonite switcher. So it's actually kind of like in the upper corner up here is where my camera multi-views are. And then all of the rest of it is actually my different media servers and what they're doing. So even if they're not live on the wall at the moment, I can actually see what they're doing to make sure they're either getting the right thing or to also help me troubleshoot.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Not that I'm a video person or a video like you are, but our video engineer has a panel for me right next to me, and I'm the same way. I like to bounce back between both. Sometimes I'll look at our online campus feed, which is the separate switch from the iMag switch. That's normally my main go-to, just because I like to have the color meters up and all that stuff with that. But when I'm switching either between our main primary camera, camera 1, camera 2. I'm honestly switching all around. I have macros that have been made for me, so it makes it super easy to switch between multi-view, online campus feed, and then all the different individual camera feeds. So
yes,
you'll see me change at least 5 times in a song.
So you sent me this picture to show. Why don't you explain what the layout of this is? Is it a video?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll play it. That said, why don't you explain what is on this view? Because I think a couple people asked what. Let's see here. What about waveform and vector scopes? Like, do you guys like to see that? And obviously, you have that right there at the bottom right-hand corner. So why don't you explain what that is and how it helps you out?
Yeah, so fully learning the whole mathematics of vector scopes, histograms, all that stuff, RGB. It's because it's super crazy. There's so much you can get into it. So I like to bounce around between different things. RGB sometimes lets me kind of see, obviously you can see what the colors are outputting, but I like to see if I'm like way high up on something and how the camera's seen it versus my naked eye has seen it. So I like to just honestly switch around between both, and sometimes a little cheat sheet that I'll do, it's not even with color meters, it's just with grayscale on the monitor. If you want to see a good way of differences between like LED wall and your subject or who's ever on stage, I'll go into a mono, like black and white on the monitor, and then it really pops out what's brighter and what's dimmer. So you could have, like, let's say it's a TV on stage, you throw in that mono and you could see like something's way hotter. It helps you balance your intensity out, if that makes sense. It's a little kind of cheat sheet I got from our video shader.
Yeah.
So there's just all sorts of things. You don't have to use meters, but like even as just using mono black and white, it helps you out so much.
Definitely. What about you, Griffin? Do you have it live on your, like, as a switchable feed, or do you tend to just go for what you see on the multi-views or your switchable content?
Yeah, so I am actually sending you a view of what I get at front of house as well. So for me, I actually do not get any of the vector scopes or anything like that, but we do have them up in the booth. Kind of our workflow is we'll let the shader manage all of that thing, all of that kind of stuff. So the brightness aspect, and kind of like Jacob, I'm not as like in touch with some of the science behind what it's actually seeing through the camera, but it still blows my mind. So, but we do use them. I just don't really have a direct use with them for a service. So
Sweet.
and I am sending you, and it sent it to you rotated. So good luck figuring that out.
Gosh. All right. While I'm setting this up, we'll come back to this picture. I'm gonna ask the next question here. This is from Kyle, everyone's favorite lighting guy. One of them. He asks, do you get to speak into the video content in the background and how that plays into your money shot? I'll start with Griffin.
Okay, so for our money shot, for our message or for our broadcast moment where our pastor is speaking to all the locations, I have a say in it, directly a part of creating it. We actually have an in-house creative team that custom designs and builds all of our message looks. We do try to run a content check, is what we call them. Usually so as a production employee and as like a creative of Highlands, we all have a Sunday through Thursday schedule. So that Sunday is one of our work days, and then we have Friday and Saturday off. So usually the week before a new series on that Thursday, the creative team will come down and we will fire up everything, cameras, lighting, the LED wall, all of it. And we'll actually have somebody kind of walk around like they are broadcasting a message and get a sense of what it feels like. Because the number one rule is what you think it's going to look like isn't what it's going to look like on camera. I can almost guarantee you. So what we'll do is we'll put it to the test, actually look at it, get a sense of it. And if there's any adjustments we need to make, we'll make them. Or if there's any adjustments for our creative team to make, they'll kind of, make note of it and go upstairs and make adjustments to it. And then during worship, I actually pick all of that. On a normal Sunday, we're pretty copy and paste. We use churchmotiongraphics.com for all of our, jump backs and live images playing in the background. And we're pretty simple on a Sunday. We normally just have one loop per song for a 3-song set. And so I'm kind of picking all that for the weekend service. And then I have a couple people that I'll talk to, one of which being Brian, Brian Worcester. If you don't know him, need to go hit him up on Instagram. Super great dude. He was one of the original lighting and production guys at Highlands. And he's kind of since grown into what we call the creative experience director. So he is responsible kind of for what Highlands looks like on the weekend. So the set design, even the lighting that I did, even the jump backs that I picked. And so it's kind of a team collaborative effort of, what one person may thinks look good, their thoughts and their opinions valid, but why not pair it with other people to make it, something great that multiple people are speaking into. So he's one of the people that I speak into, and I ask his opinion a lot on, what stuff looks like. So long answer to a short question.
Okay, great. I like that. Collaboration is one of my favorite things to do. Even though it can sometimes be really complicated, I feel like when you're collaborating, everyone feels like at the end, oh my gosh, we did it. And then obviously it's great teamwork and team building, so it's awesome. Jacob, how about you?
So,
same question.
Not that elaborate.
Did you get the question? Because it's a pretty long question, sort of.
Yeah, like into speaking video content and whatnot in the background. Yeah. So during worship, I'm strictly choosing that background of what we're doing. Sometimes it just depends. Sometimes I'll have one background for all song. Sometimes I won't even use the background. I think I've noticed this in myself programming a lot. We're programming the same songs. I don't know if it's just me, but our church will sing, a handful of songs, 10, 15 songs, and it just gets very repetitive. And you're like, how do I do the song again? I don't want to do the same look. It's boring, whatever. So honestly, I've noticed that sometimes, at least on myself, we rely on LED walls just because they're the new big thing. I feel like a lot of people rely on them a lot to have them as a light, I guess. So I like to challenge myself and be like, how can I make this look cool without using the LED wall? Or how can I just have lyrics on this LED wall and make it appearing somewhere randomly? Because we have different layers of LED wall in our current setup now. So I like to get creative with that. So I really like to only use the LED wall for like two or three songs of our worship set, normally doing 4 songs. And when I am using that, I'm making sure that it's not super distracting, because there's some things that you can do. You guys have seen out there where it's like upside down waterfalls and all that stuff, or upside down mountains, and you're just like, holy cow. Like, some of those look really cool, but they can also prove to be really distracting. So it just really, varies on what I'm doing. In terms of sermon and speaking head, that's all done by our creative team. They make all that stuff, and then we'll throw it in there, depending if it's a new series or not, see how it looks. Sometimes we'll even pull up the camera, see how it looks, and if it looks really bad or if it's something really bright, we'll collaborate and see what we can do to make it look better without, I guess, shutting them down or ruining their work. So that's the other hard part, but that's about it for that. In terms of content, we use also CMG, but we also use Dan Stevers, VMC. I even use, I have like 4 or 5 different people, like Ezra. I don't know if you guys have heard of Ezra Cohen. I use a couple people for
Yeah,
that
I really
stuff,
love
video content.
a bunch of those guys. I use constantly CMG and Dan Stevers. I just think their stuff looks great on camera. They just get the whole camera vibe. So I had that photo from Griffin. I flipped it upside down. I just took some messing around with. Why don't you explain what this is as I bring it up across your face so people can see?
Yeah, so what you're kind of seeing is my front of house setup. So, I'm running the Grand MA2 full size. So that's kind of what you see in the lower section. And then there's also a external monitor. And then that is my reference monitor that you see over in the corner. So that right there is, I'm punching program to it just because I don't remember exactly what I took that photo for. If it was, for some event I was programming or just messing around or whatever. But that's kind of my setup, and it gives me the ability to hard punch whatever I want there, or to have program so I can see what we're sending out to the screens. So hopefully that helps anybody out there to kind of get a visual for how I do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty sick setup. I like that.
Yeah, I love it.
Jacob, I actually have a picture of Jacob's setup.
I sent you another one.
Oh,
just
sweet.
In case you...
While I get that up, we'll come back to that.
No, sure.
Next question. What type of tools help for dialing in front light, light meter, etc.? We'll start with Jacob.
I was going to say, Griffin, you should go first so I can grab my laptop charger.
Okay, so what tools help? So for us, we use color meters and light meters a lot. I don't use a color meter as often anymore now that I have my look set, and I'll explain why. So I am now on LED front. Through E2I, we purchased the Martin Mac Encore and the Martin Mac Encore Performance, the wash and the performance. And so the Encore wash gives you 2 framing shutters, and it's a moving head front wash fixture. It's got CMY color mixing, CTO, CTB correction, and it also has some different gobos, some different mid-air pattern packages. And then the performance gives you all 4 framing shutters, so that it kind of feels like a Leica, and it looks the same as the wash. So once we set our wash with what we wanted,
I don't really color meter it anymore because LED is not going to change. Before that, I was on the ETC Source 4 LECOs. And so a lot of people know that as your lamp ages in a LECO, the intensity will change, but a lot of people don't know that your color can change. Sometimes it can be slight, sometimes it can be drastic depending on the lamp, what company you're using, what manufacturer you're using, and so forth. So when I was on lamp based, I would do a foot candle intensity test, usually once a week. And then I would also normally do a color check. Now that we are LED, as I mentioned before, LED is not really going to change unless the fixture's having some kind of issue. So I still every once in a while go in and update some intensities with a light meter. But light meter and color meter are the two big ones that we use.
Yes.
I'm in the same
Light
boat.
meter here too.
We used to have LECOs when I first came on staff, or when I was a contractor. We used to do full LECO wash, LECO specials. What was nice is that we had a full catwalk, so that we were able to go up there and focus things as needed. Because we kind of fluctuate with how many stingers we have every week. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5. But now we have converted over to the macros as well, the cold edition, cold model. So now we're right at 5,000 K, and some change. You can't get it perfect, but 5,000 K, and I keep that for our sermon, and I also keep it for worship, and it's worked great for us. So that's what I have I've colored with my color meter, the uplight with the Roscoe LED tape, our backlight, which is best as we can. Our backlight is just our BL3000s that we have now. So you can only tune that in as well as you can, being that kind of old of a light, and the lamp and all that stuff. Which when I get back, those will be Aero 600s. So, but using the Mac Encores have been life-changing. They are great. I only run them at like 55% in general for worship and sermon. Those things got a lot of power. But they're great fixtures, and they've held up, and I've had them for a few months, and they've been solid.
Jacob, do y'all run like 2 washes? Like I have like a speaking wash, like for the broadcast, like sermon moment. And then I have like a crop down vocalist wash.
I do. Yep. I have, 4 encores for a sermon wash, not including backlight. And then for singers, we do 2 on each person, shuttered and all that stuff.
Yes.
So
I think all 3 of us have the encores in some kind of flavor, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That was totally unplanned, but speaks to the power of that fixture. I really love that fixture. Encores are literally my favorite front light fixture still, even though there's some ones that are coming out. The Encore for the price and what it can do, and it's just literally what you need. You don't need, I think the one thing that I said when I first got it was like, there's no prism in it, and then I'm like, well, I never use a prism anyway, so why am I complaining? So you guys kind of touched on this. Someone asked, what color temps do you guys use for your key light? Let's just go around and just establish that question as answered. So go ahead, Griffin, and let us know what your color temps are.
Yeah, so I'm at 6K on the broadcast for the speaking moment, the speaking head moment, and for worship. That's fairly on the cool side, but we have a very large row black onyx LED wall surface. And so to get that girl looking as good as we can on camera, making her look color correct, we run right at about 6K.
Sweet. Yeah, I like to do that, especially since our pastor is a bit on the tan side. Cools him down a lot. So yeah. What about you?
Not quite so straight.
Well, Jacob, you kind of answered. You kind of included that in your last answer, but go ahead and just, for safety, let us know what temps you use.
Yeah. 5,000 for key light for singers, vocalist, and then also 5,000 for worship. They're just varied differently.
Nice. Awesome. And then let's see here.
And that was tough.
Right.
Because our video guy did not want to get that, originally we were like 44, 43, and they're like, oh, we want to stay here. This and that. So it was a slow transition to get to 5K, and I still want to get up a little higher, but it's been working for us. So
yeah, Which is surprising because video guys, like our video guys, love it the more I go cooler because that's like their sweet spot is 56 to 6,000 K.
Yeah.
So, someone asked if we're all on MA. I am not on MA. I love MA, but I can't afford MA.
Right.
And so,
Mm, the
forever,
tragedy.
I know, forever Harvest has used originally we had the original Martin Maxis console. Um, I thought it was the state of the art console at the time. Um, because of the cost of an MA1 was astronomical for any church to own.
Yes, it was.
I feel like we had the next best thing. Then slowly, as it started degrading, we're like, ah, crap, we need to upgrade. So we ended up looking at MA, and we're just like, everyone knows this platform already. We know we have a really good relationship with the guys at Martin who owned the console at the time. And so it made sense to upgrade to the M series, which was the next one. So we have the M6 right now, which is what we upgraded from the original Maxis. Some of you might know that Martin got rid of the M series and now it's called Obsidian Adulation. And that's technically what we use now. We have a mixture of the old M series stuff and a mixture of the Obsidian stuff, and they all still work together seamlessly. That's just what works for us. So that's an example of you don't have to have an MA to look cool, even though the MAs look really cool.
You have to look cool.
But for us, it's just
Oh,
the cost was a big thing, and we're just like, we could buy an MA, or we could buy this console and our whole front light for our speaking, and still not spend the same amount of money. So for us, it just made sense. That's not knocking MA or anyone who buys an MA, obviously. So it's
yeah.
just I always go back to the right tool for the job. So for our uh, volunteer staff who mostly run everything, it's important for them to they don't have we don't have the funds, let alone the time to just teach them the full MA syntax and macros and everything. And so the
Yeah.
Obsidian stuff is really great if you want to simplify programming, but still have the power there for those of us who want to invest in the time to learn that. So let's move on down the
Yeah,
questions.
You
that's a
asked me if
great
you wanted
point.
an MA.
Oh no, go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead, Jacob.
I was just saying, if you asked me if you want an MA, if someone said, "Do you want an MA3 or do you want more fixtures?" I'd be like,
Exactly.
more fixtures.
Yeah,
No one's gonna
for
tell
sure.
what console you're on.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
I got.
No one's
Yeah,
gonna look at the
that's a great
stage and be
point.
like, "This stage was lit by an MA3." The
Yeah,
stage actually was lit by an
yeah,
MA3, but you can't tell.
yeah. That was a horrible point. That was a horrible point, Chris.
But literally, like when I
No,
look
and
at a
that's actually
stage,
a
I'm like,
great
"What do you
point
mean
about
that
the
was programmed on a
volunteers.
Vista?"
Yeah. No, that's a great point about the volunteers too that you made. Because, like, for example, we are largely volunteer based. We're a church that we actually don't broadcast or we don't actually publicize numbers anymore. Because for us, it's not really about the numbers. It's just about impacting unity. So for us, there's not really a point in projecting numbers that we have on the weekend. But to be a church of we estimate usually between 50 and 60,000 on the weekend. We are at 21 locations, and it's mostly all volunteer based. In fact, I mean, like if our volunteers didn't show up on a weekend, we'd be able to have service at like one, maybe two of the campuses. And so for us, everything is volunteer based.
Right.
It's, what helps the volunteer to succeed because they're doing something else 6 days a week. And this seventh day that they're giving to you isn't even a day that they're like working, it's their service, their worship. So what I never want to do is burden a volunteer to be under the pressure of like learning a difficult system or a complicated system. I want to just set them up for success. So we were on Hog for a long time, years and years and years, to kind of achieve that vision. It's a great, very powerful program. And then also it's very easy to grasp, very easy to train on. And in about the last 2 years, we've kind of started to slowly roll organizationally across the board over to MA, but we're even still kind of working on making that swap. So,
Yes. Amen. Jacob, how about you? Do you have a lot of volunteers on your guys' team, or is it pretty locked down with staff?
So there was a time where we had a lot of volunteers. and I'm just speaking to us on lighting. Right now, I only have one volunteer at our main campus. So we used to have 5 volunteers, and it was great. Christina, like, you're doing this service, there's a whole flow. But then at our other campuses, that's all volunteer ran. We have a technical director at each campus, and he is pretty much programming everything. Some people will even have volunteers who want to program it and stuff. So that's all solely volunteer based. I don't even have to worry about how our other campuses get programmed or any of that stuff, unless there's some huge MA question that someone will have, then I'll get a call. But at our main campus, it's mainly myself and our production tech, Adrian, who also runs services with me.
Adrian!
So between the both of us, we're handling console for the 4 services on Sunday.
Yes.
And our volunteer.
That's awesome.
The volunteer.
The volunteer.
All right, special.
It must feel special, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
We get it done.
Yeah, we have. I just recently actually took over scheduling all our volunteers, and I didn't realize how many volunteers we had till I had to schedule them, and I'm like, oh my gosh!
Yes.
That is a pain, man. I really shout out to our supervisor, Shay, who had to schedule not only our volunteers, but he also schedules all our staff for the tech department. So, I can't schedule the 20 volunteers. I can't imagine scheduling 35 people. So, dang. But yeah, volunteers are really important for us, just because we like to allocate as much time and focus to outreach as we can, and volunteers really help me on that end. We only have like 3 lighting volunteers, so we need more volunteers. So if you're in the Riverside area and want to volunteer, come on down. But
hey, there you go.
But yes, volunteers are to us pretty great. Moving on. Someone asked here. Haze. Haze is a big question, especially for video. How do you get it to look so even? And I really think both of you guys have the most epic, evenly looking haze shots on Instagram. In fact, I think I have a photo here. Boom. Look at that. That's a great shot. That's Jacob's Church. The Rock Church, San Diego. I wanted to say Church of the Highlands because it's underneath you.
I was like, what church are you on here?
It's underneath Griffin, all right. So why don't you, Jacob, tell us how you get your haze looking so even? Because I'm even envious.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you straight up, MDG.
MDG, yes.
We've got, MDG is your friend. We have 2 MDG ATMEs, one on each side of the catwalk. If you can see in the picture, they're on the very top left and right, they are the side lights that are coming down. That's where the hazers are located, pretty much at the entrances of the catwalk up there. So we used 2 of those, and there was also runoff of CO2 tanks, which really help with the particle size of that hazer compared to other hazers. Are you okay? Okay. No, you're good. Oh, there we go. So the CO2 definitely helps with the MDG, but it's just a great hazer. There's not much you have to do. There was a few weeks when we first got it where we had to figure out where we wanted it. For a while, we had it on the floor on these carts that we got. But we ended up realizing that having it up in the catwalk was the best with the AC flow. Just kind of came in, and that thing's solid. Like, Griffin, are you using that too?
No, so we're not. So we're actually, I would love to be on the MDG, but I'm not. So stop rubbing it in.
Yeah, and it's good for your lights.
Yeah, so we're actually on the Master
Can I just
Effects
point out that it
Mystic
seems
hazer.
you have lasers during a worship service here?
Okay.
Envious
so
part 3.
Here. Hold on, that's not a normal at all. I'll give
This
you
is
normal
actually a
real
photo
quick.
that he sent to me about talking about the many uses of video content on a video wall.
Yeah, and I just sent you another one
Yes,
too
this
that'll
is
help.
more-
So for haze, I'm running 2 Master Effects Mystics. The main reason for that, Pastor Chris, our vision at the church is that we're not like a haze all day. There's kind of this super specific guideline of it helps a lot during the worship part of the service, but for the message part of the service, they don't want it. So what I've had to figure out is the art of getting something that looks great, that is there and then gone in a matter of about a 15 to 20-minute worship set. So to back up Jacob's point, I would love to be on MDG, and I agree with everything Jacob says. But for us, it just the hang time for it is too long for me. So what I've had to do is learn the art of pre-hazing, which is the idea of getting the haze there before you need it. So we have a 5-minute video that opens up our service. The last minute of it is kind of everybody like standing up, clapping. It's just kind of an intro into worship. And then we have a 3 songs, so usually like 15 to 20-minute worship set. So I'll start running haze at a lower percentage, but for longer, about 10 minutes before the service is going to start. So by the time we hit the service, I'm already close to or ready to turn it off and let it just exist and be in the space. And then by the time we get to our message portion of the service, it's already gone again. So shout out to MDG and Master Effects, both amazing products.
And I would definitely agree with the pre-hazing thing. That is key. Pre-hazing. I always call it massage the haze.
Yeah.
Massage the haze.
Because a lot of people will just push it, you'll just push it through, and then you're like, see behind these people just like dragon's breath coming out, It's just
Yeah,
like,
I hate the dragon's breath.
I'm like, whoa, chill out. Like you have to massage the haze.
And you both
Excuse
have
the
one
missing
haze,
light
right?
in that.
Do you have 2 hazes each, or how's that work?
I have
You
2.
Jacob?
I have 2.
Dang, I'm the only one here with 1.
Yeah.
I actually demoed
So what we
said
found
50,
is
a Mystic Hazer, and I wanted to buy it a year
Yeah.
ago. But we just haven't gotten around to it. But I really love that Hazer too. Shout out to Master Effects, love them also.
yeah, it's good. And the thick fluid. So we started out on they sell multiple fluid options. We started out on the thin fluid, and it looked great, but I'd have to run a lot of it to get the look that I used to have with other hazers. And I found that the thick fluid is great at getting it done.
Yeah, thick fluid is definitely the way to go. I find the last few hazers we've had, the thin fluid's just like very smoky and looks like
Yeah.
cathedral incense going on.
Exactly.
All right, let's see here. What do we got? Aside for being online, this comes from Bennett. Bennett? Yes, Bennett. Aside from being for online services, how do you go about programming for the worship set? Do you map out the song, or do you have a color base, then have everything else on the fly? So essentially it comes down to, are you guys Q to Q, or do you busk it, or is it a little bit of both? I'm going to open it with, I'm a little bit of both. Because honestly, I won't get the set list sometimes until maybe Friday, maybe Thursday, maybe Wednesday if I'm lucky, but most of the time it's Sunday morning the first time I see it, and the first time I hear the song. And I think my volume is low. Dang. I really need to fix this mic. That should be better. I'm going to start off with, for me... Alright, I think we're good now. For me, it's a little bit of both. We busk it and we do Q to Q. Just because sometimes I won't get the set list until Sunday morning. And I feel like it gives us a little more creative freedom. I kind of took that approach after talking to Alex a while ago, and Daniel Connell, and the guys at Bethel. Just because we have taken that approach to where if the band wants to extend the song last minute, we have the freedom when we do a little bit of both to add the ability to busk it. If we have Q to Q, we build a Q in there where it's a Q essentially like extends a song, and then we can add some extra flavor with our overrides and executors. So why don't you guys speak into that about how you guys program a service? Is it busking, Q to Q, a little bit of both, or something else, something special? Let's start with Jacob.
So for me, it varies every week. I said this earlier, but we kind of do the same amount of songs.
Hang on 1 minute. I should probably explain what busking is. So busking is essentially just on the fly. Yes. So you're running a queue or a show or service or whatever, and all your like you've got a section of like flashy movements, you got a section of color bumps, a section on your console laid out of just different gobos, and so you're essentially following with the song and then bringing up, a slow movement when the chorus builds or there's a big moment during the service and you want to like just bring the lights into the audience. You bring that fader up, and that's essentially busking. Instead of cue to cue, each and every scene in your service is already pre-programmed ahead of time, and you're hitting go during the chorus, during the bridge, during the verse, and all that, and it's following along that way. So one is a little more on the fly, like on the seat of your pants, and one is you a little more prepared, a little more structured. So just wanted to set that out there. Continue.
It's fun being on the seat of your pants when you do stuff like that. It's definitely an art in itself. But yeah, so Sunday to Sunday, I'm all programmed entirely. I normally, thankfully, I take this for granted sometimes, but we get our worship set at least the week before for the following Sunday. So I can come in Monday, I can pull up Planning Center and see what our worship set is. And then normally my day to program is on Wednesday, so I will program on Wednesday before the band rehearsal, so that when we have band rehearsal, they can pretty much, sometimes I'll stay at rehearsal for the band, sometimes I won't. Lately, because it's been very similar every week for the way they do songs. But if they do make changes, or audio guys tell me, hey, they did some kind of different arrangement or something like that, then on Thursday morning when I come in, pull things back up, see what they changed, and then alter my programming to what they changed. So that on Sunday, it's pretty much cue to cue, verse, chorus, bridge, round two, et cetera, instrumental. There's rarely times, it's pretty rare that we have changes on Sundays, which is nice for us. But when we do, just got to be flexible on making those changes. And that's why I think busking is super helpful to know, because there's times where that happens, where things get changed last minute, and then you just got to know, you got to know what to do. You got to have a plan in place. And then also part of doing cue by cue, when I used to have a regular volunteer, it was easy for him to just go through one cue list and just go top to bottom without having to do any, crazy cue stack changes or any kind of fader changes. It's pretty easy for him to just, A to Z, finish the whole sequence. But in terms of programming and what I choose for colors and all that stuff, I used to feel like I always had to change looks all the time, just because you had to. It was another Sunday, like, got to change the look. But what I've really adopted to is, let's say we're going to sing, I don't know, Promises Never Fails, or whatever it's called. I'll listen to the song, program it, do as best as I can and to my ability of what I like. We'll do it out on Sunday. Great. I feel like I could have done something different, change this. We're singing it again in 2 weeks. I'll pull that exact song up, go through it entirely, see what I didn't like, see what, was overkill or what was underkill. And I just keep adding to that, honestly. And then you're just kind of building up that song without having to make new looks and then spending 8 hours a day programming it Sunday. And then you can do other productive things. So that's what I've really adopted to. Unless it's a new song, I like to just kind of make changes and revisions, where I can. Because why change something just to change it? Why waste time, whatever, when, it looks good on camera,
Definitely.
Great point.
Griffin, how about you?
That's kind of my...
What's your flavor
So for
of
me,
choice?
so it's a little bit of both for us too, and it depends on the service type. So for a Sunday type service, at the main campus where I am, it mirrors what the other campuses do with volunteers. So we have a cue stack that is a look per song, so positions, colors, and intensities. And then we have the console set up where we have different intensity changes, movement changes, intensity effects, movement effects, all that stuff laid out on handles or on faders, so that we can kind of, layer stuff in as we go during the song. Very similar to you, Chris. We're usually not getting a set list till Thursday, best case, Sunday, worst case. And so that gives us the ability to know that we're going to have like a fast kind of medium mid-tour song. And that gives us the ability to then, no matter really what the song is, have the colors ready to go and then just run on the fly during rehearsal. So for us, rehearsal is where we're spending the largest amount of time learning the song, finding out where the moments are to do different effects. And so what you're seeing right now is actually my desk on a Sunday morning, the effect part of the desk. So over on the far left side, you've got some different movement effects and then intensity effects, and then my cue stack, which shows that I only actually have 3 songs programmed. It's just 3 looks, and then I'm running effects for those 3 songs. And that's exactly what our campuses are doing as well. And for us, a lot of people ask us, how are we, sending out information and communication so that every location feels similar? For us, we use Planning Center. So I screenshot Planning Center. I screenshot the songs, and it includes what the graphic should be on screen, as well as the primary and secondary color. And then the people at each campus get to kind of decide what that's going to feel like, what that's going to look like at their campus. So, and then for events like our student services motion, it's a pretty big scale conference that we have in an arena here in Birmingham once a year. And so that's like our student type service. And so we once a month get to have that in our own buildings. And then in July, we all gather in the arena here in Birmingham. For our student services, we program it out Q stack, and it's cue by cue. So like verse, chorus, bridge, breakdown, it's all of it programmed out in the Q stack. So we've kind of got a couple different models that we use for our different services.
Sweet, yes. I definitely run it the same way. It's a we have a cue list with a bunch of looks, and then we have the main majority of the flows of the songs is all busked or punted or on the fly, as people would say. Kyle asks, are you guys limited in your programming style? Meaning, can you scan the audience? Can you strobe? Do you have to bring it back a little bit on certain services? If so, what services is that? Or is your worship style just big, glorious awesomeness? Or is it more intimate, subdued, artistic, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so for us, our Sunday vision is the first time guest. So everything we do, parking team, the cup of coffee that you get, how many peppermints you're allowed, what the lights look like, how well your kids are taken care of. We think of everything from the first time guest perspective. And so I am located in Birmingham, Alabama, which is hashtag Bible Belt. And so for us, the idea of a mega church, the idea of this big, huge kind of concert-y feeling room and service, a lot of times can be distracting, especially for people in our area. So for us, crowd scans, things like that on a Sunday morning are a big no-no. We have a lot of cool, really, really fun toys that we get the chance to, use to create a cool atmosphere for worship, but we got to make sure we steward that the right way. So we will not go in the crowd, on a Sunday morning, but just about everything else goes, as long as with the asterisk that it kind of fits the moment. We don't want to. I always kind of tell people I compare it to like a roller coaster, where like hopefully it's starting out down here and it's ending up here. And you want like your worship team, your production team, your audio team, you want everybody to kind of climb this hill or like ride this ride together, and not create an environment where like one team is mismatching what another team is doing, and you end up with something that's creating a distraction. So like you don't want to have the worship team having this kind of intimate moment, and then lighting is like just strobing in the crowd, just, with everything you got. So it's also about communication. It's, finding out from your teams. Always try to ask the worship team on a Sunday morning, like, where is the moment for you guys? What's the moment that we're trying to get to? What's the song that we're trying to get to kind of create that moment where people are, fully in worship. So the short of it for us.
Totally. Jacob, how about you?
So I don't want to say that there's no like restrictions, but I guess because my boss has never come to me, or I've never had a church attendee come to me and be like, these lights are too crazy, these lights are too bright, I can't see, whatever. It's normally turning down. I'm just kidding, making fun of my audio guys. But I have my own restrictions on what I have and what I do. Something I like to do is, and it really keeps me on track, but I like to really look into the audience of the church and see how people are engaged. I've been an LD there for about 3 years now, and I've been able to kind of assess our culture, because I think it also very depends on your church culture. depending where you're at. Some people are super into that, strobes, this and that. Like, that's just how it is. That's how they've always been. It works great for them. Doesn't mean you should do it at your church. We have a very strong, I want to say our church is a very strong worship culture. And I could pretty much any service on a Sunday, I can look around the room and see people fully engaged, like hands up, freaking crying, like people are into it. And it's rewarding to see, because you really have to create that environment, not only from the worship band, from the singers, the band, but also the audio team, lighting, So when I see people fully emotional like that, it tells me that we're doing a good job at what we do. So that's kind of I guess, how I see on how I light things. So I can answer your question in many ways. Yes, I do audience sweeps. Sometimes I'll do big hits of bright white light. Sometimes I will do strobe. Randomly I'll do it. It just has to fit the song. It has to fit what we're doing. But I don't like to be like an overkill kind of guy.
Right.
Just for fun, just because I think it looks cool or it's Instagram worthy. It really just has to depend on the culture of your church, how your church receives it, and kind of go from there. So.
Right. Yeah, I'd say definitely
And I challenge anybody who doesn't do that to, take a look around, because you're in the booth, you're in the middle of the room. Take a look around. If people are just like they're watching a show, like clearly, like there's nothing wrong, but it's like, are you helping engage them, or are you helping them just look at like this is a show? You know what I mean?
One thing that I've heard Brian Houston say at Hillsong is, I actually usually tune into I've never gotten the chance to go. It's on my bucket list, but they have a worship and creative conference, where it's kind of a conference for the us's of churches that they do every year at Hillsong. And this last year, in his opening session in the first night, one thing that he said in his message he said, never look at what the first person in the first row is doing, because they're the closest to the stage. If anything, they're going to feel pressure to do something. Look at what the last person in the last seat in the back of the room is doing, and you should base what you're doing off of their response, not the person in the front row.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's definitely based off of, that's a great way. The person in the last row is oftentimes the forgotten person, but they matter just as much as the person in the front row.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. That's great. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, but feeling good. Weird not being able to go to work.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
It's weird.
I'm gonna move on here.
It was weird this morning, like watching what was happening at our church. It was weird, like watching it on a screen.
I know.
Right?
Same. I woke up this morning and church was happening already. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
I was watching in bed. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah. So let's talk now about how we all got started in lighting, because there might be someone in the chat maybe, or watching this later or whenever, maybe they're doing lights for a church and they just got thrown into it, or they're not quite sure that they're in the right spot, or maybe they're just feeling overwhelmed right now. So why don't you talk about where you guys came from, how you got into lighting, and what is the goal of lighting for a church service? Like, how do you approach it as far as a, not necessarily creative, but just maybe, how do you feel it's contributing to the church service in a spiritual aspect, biblical aspect, and how you just got into it, doing lights for church versus working at a theme park or a concert venue or for a band or someone like that?
I guess I can start.
It's a big question.
Yeah, that's a lot of elements. So I guess we'll start with how I got into lighting, right? Is that your first question, into the church?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
So I started volunteering at our church in the video department. That's where I found my love for video. I did cameras, I video switched, I video direct, ran the jib, all the roles that you could do in video. And I became super fascinated with that. And then that's how I ended up getting to television and working in the TV news. Left the church for a little bit, came back, got plugged back into the church. And then I met during this whole time, I had a friend that, I'd hang out with. And that friend is Noah Hawley. He works for Passion now. He's a production manager there. So I came back into the church. He was the lighting director, lighting designer, whatever you want to call it, for the church, and he taught me a bunch of things into lighting. He pretty much taught me, MA2, taught me all stuff, pretty much all about lighting. So I became a volunteer for him. Then I turned into a lighting contractor, and then at one point Noah boosted up to the production manager, and then I was hired on to fill his role as the lighting designer. So I learned a lot from him. Pretty much taught me everything I know to this day. And then he moved over to Passion. I stayed in my role, and that's how long I've been doing lighting, how I got into it, and yeah.
Awesome.
Second question.
Second question. Any encouragement you have for someone getting started in lighting? Maybe they just got thrown into it, but they really like it and they want to learn it more, but maybe they're feeling a little overwhelmed. What do you have for them that you have learned over the years?
I guess a thing to look back at now is you're not going to know everything when you start. Like, don't expect to come in and just think you're going to like know everything, because there's so much to know. Like, there's stuff I don't even know. My weakness myself is, I don't like going into Vectorworks. Like, I don't like that stuff. I don't want to sit at my desk and draw Vectorworks all day. It's just never had an interest, never wanted to. And, that's partially why I worked with Daniel on our rig designs, because that's not me. Whereas Noah, on the other hand, he would spend 8 hours in Vectorworks and like geek out and all that stuff. So don't feel like you have to learn everything. I would connect with other people who have hobbies and that stuff and learn from them, but don't expect that you have to like learn everything. And
Right.
It's going to take time and years of experience. It'll you'll learn at shows. You don't always have to learn in the church environment, I guess, is my thing. I also freelance out of the church, and that's where I learn a lot of stuff that I'm not even used to. You use you're tearing stuff down versus when you go into a church, everything could be set up already, and you just kind of work off that system. But definitely when you're freelancing or volunteering, whatever ability you have, you'll learn a lot more about systems and how that stuff works, and then you apply it back home, and you just, over months and years, you learned a lot of knowledge. So, don't rush into it, I guess, is what I would suggest.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like there's been a couple people where they're like, I gotta get out, I gotta go do a gig, I gotta do something, and they're just running, but they haven't learned, like, take it easy, learn the basics, slow down. You're 20, you're
Yeah.
19, you're a 15-year-old, so
Yeah.
definitely just
You'll
take
learn,
it slow.
and then
You've got many years ahead to learn. We're still learning. I'm definitely still learning, especially when it comes to
Oh
Vectorworks.
yeah.
Like you said, I'm not a Vectorworks guy. Um, but I thankfully have a lot of friends who are, and so that's what helps about the industry. Is there's always someone you could turn to with questions, or if you don't know how to do something. So Griffin, how about you? Anything you have encouragement for someone starting out who feels like they need to conquer the world in a short amount of time, or maybe they just feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, I would say, man, what would I say? Well, first off, I think I would say opportunities are coming, so don't force them. I mean, we're doing this in a church, so hopefully, everybody that would be on this call or viewing this call, has a close relationship with their Lord and Savior. But I would say ultimately, at the end of the day, just follow your path. I think social media is a really easy way to see where each and every person is at and get your take on what you think got them to why they're there, and justify that as a reason why you should be in their place. You should, know more than they know, or, have more opportunities than they have. I would just, in a lot of ways, you got to just zone yourself down to just kind of staying in your lane. I think that I'm a personal testimony of that. When I was kind of starting out, I did theater, was kind of my background, more of like the tech arts side, audio and lighting, and then ultimately decided to go to a ministry school that's actually out of Church of the Highlands, and that's kind of how I ended up on staff. But through the whole processes, I realized I had to ask myself, like, why I was doing what I was doing, and what brings me joy to do it, what makes me want to come back and do it the next day. And for me, it's people in the room who are getting to worship. It's getting to help create that environment, not so my name can ever be on it, not so that I can ever be related or drawn back to it, but so that it's just I was gifted with the ability and the opportunity to create a moment that allowed somebody to have a vertical moment. There's horizontal moments and then there's vertical moments. And so I want to be all about creating those vertical moments and create them in a great way.
Definitely,
So
that's really great. Um, so I guess I'll throw mine in. Um, I kind of got started in lighting with theater, like Griffin did volunteer, like intern, I guess. It was like a high school. I was homeschooled. Now everyone's homeschooled the next month or so. Um,
yeah.
but I was homeschooled through high school, so I didn't get to go to like an actual high school theater program. So we ended up doing like I did a theater internship. My parents worked at Disneyland, so we were at Disneyland all the time. All the time. I would ask the techs there always, constantly, like, "Hey, how can I get into this? How can I get into this?" Because I saw Fantasmic as a kid. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I want to work on that." Or just at Disneyland. Period. So my original life goal was to work at Disneyland. That was like the obsession, the goal. That's what I set out to do. So they're like, volunteer to theater or a church. I was like, forget the church, going for the theater first. So I tried the theater thing. Um, and then I was like, this just some of the theaters out here, Um, at least as a teenager, that's what I thought. So I'm like, I need to get my hands on some moving lights or something. So I was one of those kids that are like, I have to go, go, go. Um, but thankfully, one of my mentors, he worked at Disneyland. His name was Lewis. He told me, just slow down. You got a ton of time. You're not even in college yet. So college came around, and went to college for a little bit and did some training with that. And then um, eventually found out about Harvest towards the end of high school. Someone's like, you should go volunteer. They're looking for lighting people. And he was in my high school class senior year, and he went to Harvest. So decided I should go check out Harvest, and ended up uh, volunteering there. Got my year's experience that I needed, and got the job at Disneyland. I got my dream, my end goal working at Disneyland, got the job, and then just a bunch of things hit. My dad got really sick. There was a lot of politics at Disney. Working at Disneyland, having someone sick, it's not a good mixture because you have to call off and there's points, and people start hating you because they think you don't want to work there, but you do want to work there. You just want to be there for your dad also. So it was just a huge amount of stress and everything. And then I just also missed volunteering at Harvest for some reason, even though I wasn't getting paid. There was just something about working and being around those people, um, and just the atmosphere that really attracted me. So um, I made the instinct to quit my dream job at Disney, and I ended up just jobless for a while. And then, literally a few months later, somehow I think I ended up telling my supervisor at the time, "Hey, so I quit Disney." um, I didn't tell them why, but then they offered me a job part time, and it ended up turning into a full time job, and that's how I got to be a Harvest. Um, so obviously that there's a lot more to the story in that short amount of time, but I don't want to run this thing for 2 hours, so that's a little short snippet of my life. But if you're struggling and you're watching this and you're like, I'm overwhelmed, um, just take it slow. There's a lot of training out there that you can receive for free, especially now the next few months. A lot of manufacturers, console uh, brands are giving free training. I think MA right now is doing their full online course for free. That's normally like $500 or $600. I put Nick through that, my LD right now at Harvest, and he's smashing away on that thing, and he's getting literally what would have been like $2,000 to send him to that class. He's getting it for free. So that's a uh, free resource for you guys right now. And Limelight, is it Limelight or LimeWire? I think it's Limelight. Limelight. They have a list on their Instagram account of the vast amount of free resources for training. There's Vectorworks training, MA training, Obsidian is doing their online training, Hog is doing something, ETC's got their console training all for free right now because they know no one's got work, so we might as well train them. So when there is work, boom, everyone knows their consoles and they're gonna choose them, hopefully. So that's what you got out there. And then I would just
Don't forget about
also
the Green Hippo and
yeah, there's
Resloom.
Green Hippo and Resloom training for free. So yeah, and then I would also just encourage if you're working at a church, the main goal and focus should be um, worshiping Jesus and bringing people to a point where they can do that distraction free and encouraging them to just let go of, especially right now, the anxiety and the fear and worry of coronavirus and setting a tone that's don't worry about what's going on in the world, but worry about what's happening right now with your relationship with God and just open up and worship. So that should be our primary
Yep.
goal as any position in the church, but especially as a tech staff because I was told that we are the extension of the worship team. We are worship leaders also, and you're leading from behind the console, so definitely don't forget that when you're serving at your church. And
Yep.
with that, any closing thoughts? How about your snacks right now? What's your go-to snacks when you're programming a show or a service or a kids play or whatever it might be?
So coffee is a big one for me. I'm a big coffee guy. We've got a little coffee bar in the office. Peach Red Bull is another great go-to. I think a lot of people know me as the Red Bull guy.
Peach Red Bull. I know a lot of
My
people.
heart will probably explode one day. My heart will probably explode one day, but it's okay. It was for a show, so to God be the glory. But so yeah, coffee and peach Red Bull, and then I like to munch on things when I'm programming. So like any kind of chocolate. I'm normally not a sweets guy, but for whatever reason, when I'm programming, like you give me some Kit Kat, and
That's
I'm
true.
gone. I'm gone.
Yes. I don't drink energy drinks anymore. 'Cause I actually drink. I used to love Red Bull and Rock Stars and Monsters, and then I started getting heart palpitations, and I'm like, oh no, done. But
Yep,
coffee. Oh my gosh, I
yep.
love
When
coffee
that
so
day
much.
comes, when that day comes, I'll probably take a step back.
Yeah. But yeah, coffee for me, and anything I can munch on, like chocolate covered almonds, dark chocolate covered
Oh,
almonds.
stop. Oh,
Yes. I did a gig not
chocolate
too
covered
long ago, and they
pretzels.
kept bringing snacks and snacks and snacks, and we're like, dude, there's too much junk food. And so what's the guy do? He goes out and brings a giant basket of different fruits and stuff. It was like insane. But Jacob, favorite programming snacks? Go.
Coffee for sure on the top. Um, that's I'm not really an energy drink guy. Like I don't like Red Bull. I don't care for it. But when I do need the energy, we're having our worship nights, whatever. Bangs. That's my best friend. Um, they work well for me, and me and Adrian will buy a few and stack them in our mini fridge, and then just bangs all night. So um,
Pro
that
tip: Amazon has a mini fridge that can fit under a desk. I'm just telling you,
Oh,
really
snap.
for like $40. It's like literally like this big.
that's
Yes.
awesome. I need to look into that. Send
Those
me
are
that
great
link.
snack suggestions.
um, I don't, and then another thing is I don't snack. Like if I'm hungry, I'm just gonna eat food, and then it cuts down the urge of wanting to eat more
True.
snacks. So whatever's fast food nearby, get that. Start eat up, and then I'm good.
That's right.
Although not too long ago, I was over at Daniel's place, and he has a whole thing of snacks in his like Previs suite, and he's got Rice Krispies, beef
Oh
jerky.
my
I ate
gosh,
all of
dude.
it, like almost all of it rice. They
I
were just
would
like
get
right there
fat
on demand. Like
programming, fatter programming.
Yeah, I,
I was like, this is why I
I
don't
wouldn't
have
be
a
able to
snack
leave the
right next to
desk.
me. Yeah.
All right. So there's obviously 22 people still in the chat. Are there any other questions? I see some that just popped up, but now's like your last, I'd say, few minutes here. Probably gonna go for another 15 minutes, maybe, depending on the questions. So if you have any questions for any of us, but primarily these two guys, go ahead and send your questions in the chat. We have one here from Chad Beverly. What's up, dude? One of my Instagram friends there. He asks, where do you all get your inspiration for your stage designs? I'm going to go ahead and open it up with all my Instagram friends like Griffin and Jacob Cervantes and Alex Fuller and all those. looking at their stuff and being like, dude, that would be sick if I added this on our stage and then tweak this, change this color, change that curve, shift this up. Um, and I also find a lot of inspiration from architecture, um, like just random skyscrapers you look up at like in Japan or Tokyo or something. And you're like, dude, that like repeating it across my stage in a smaller format would be sick, or that kind of stuff. So, literally, my life is spending time on Pinterest and Instagram. Yes, Pinterest can be for guys too. And just looking at what other people are doing and getting inspiration from that, or just literally architecture. That's kind of my big go to. What about you guys? Start with Griffin.
Yeah, so for me, first off, I would say social media. So, seeing what other folks are doing, not how can I like rip it off, but how can I like take an idea or something that they hopefully not rip it off, take an idea or something that they saw and kind of like make it work for my environment or my situation. And then another big one for me is other shows, like even not, even non-ministry based shows. I enjoy going to lots of different concerts, big country music guy. And so I'm kind of right in between Atlanta and Nashville. So I'll kind of pop in between those two places, especially when I know like the production manager or the LD on a tour that's coming through. Go hang out with them and take the scale of what they're doing and how can I kind of bring it down to what I'm doing. Those are big ones for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love going to concerts when I can and checking it out just in person. 'Cause it's a lot different with like looking at photos, but when you're there in person, you're like, oh my gosh, you see things that pictures just can't convey. So that's great.
Yeah.
Jacob, what about you?
I'd say the same thing, honestly. It's really just networking. I think networking is huge with social media.
Yeah.
'Cause I could say the same thing, like, yeah, social media, what Griffin said, like not ripping each other off. But in the end, we're all doing the same thing and we're all trying to accomplish the same goal. Um, so I guess that's what I can really say. Yeah, like there's different things I find like I love watching like the Grammys and that stuff because that's like next level. Like holy cow, it's like fancy designing, like
Yeah.
it's like a different
Bougie
style, but it's
designing.
still like so. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so appreciative.
The Voice is one that I'll watch
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
The
The Voice, for
Voice,
whatever reason, always has killer
and it's
sets.
just clean. I don't know what it is, but it's just
Yeah,
super
Taylor
clean
Swift
and
stuff's
crisp
always like
lighting. It's
great.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So just I'd say the whole all of us together as a whole. It's a cool community, and to after being in it for a while, like getting to meet people and network with people has been great. I was in Oklahoma 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, and I was out visiting Daniel, and I was out visiting Church on the Move, and it's cool because these are all people you follow on Instagram and you talk to and talk to on the phone, but then it's like when you get to hang out and visit their rooms and their spaces. Like I get to see Church on the Move, and that place is phenomenal. To see in person.
Yeah,
So it's just cool to in terms of inspo, even
Yeah.
visiting other sites is just inspo in itself.
totally.
Yeah. Networking is great. I mean,
Networking,
I
networking,
wouldn't be
networking.
where I am without other people. Find people who are doing what you do and do it better or do it the way you want to do it. And don't go rip them off. Go learn from them and see what they see and take what they see and make it yours.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
think if there's one piece of advice I wish I knew sooner, which I kind of started to get like halfway through, I'd say, networking. It's just super
Yeah.
important. Go follow everybody who says lighting designer in their Instagram description, on their Twitter page, on their TikTok or whatever, and just go follow them and ask them questions. Some might blow you off, and some have for me in the past, and some, thankfully, the few who said yes and poured into me, I'm extremely thankful to those guys. Shout out to Daryl, especially Daryl Sutton at Chauvet,
Yes. Yeah.
and he was at Martin at the time when I met him, and he's just been a lifesaver when it comes to just finding the right people to ask when I didn't have this kind of thing happening. Um, just
Yeah.
being pointed in the right direction. Again, if you guys watching have any questions as far as who to follow, who you want to be introduced to, ask any of us, and we'll gladly send an introduction email or message to anyone that we know, and we'll answer your questions, and we'll do it gladly. Um,
Yeah, I'd say.
breakfasts.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say, don't be scared to ask. Like you said, Chris, you might get shot down, but don't go into it trying to. I would say don't go into it trying to look like you're more than you are. I would go into it just as innocently as you can. Say, hey, I don't know a whole lot, but I'd love to learn from you. I've gotten that opportunity over the years a lot from Daniel. We've brought Daniel in for a lot of different events we've had. When we do motion in the arena, he is always our go-to guy for helping us with that and pulling that event off. A couple of years that week, for a lot of people, it would be a week where they're like, oh my gosh, how can I get the cool Instagram post and the cool Instagram video and say that I was in an arena and I got to help and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's been really humbling the last few years to be able to bring Daniel in where the stress is no longer on me, the LD, it's on Daniel. And then I get to learn from Daniel all week and just kind of watch and see how he handles situations and environments and things like that. And so just finding those people, and if it's not the right fit, if you and somebody aren't vibing well or like it's not working out, don't force anything. But just go into conversations innocently, just asking for advice, asking for any information people are willing to give you, and it's a great way to do it. Don't do it alone.
Definitely.
For sure.
All right, we have a few more questions here that we could knock out, I think. Someone asked any tips on getting started with MA2. Go visit their online courses right now. They're free. I cannot stress this enough. That is a $700 class, I think. $500, $300, $200 sometimes, depending on which one you pick.
Yeah, I paid
All of them.
$500 for LPI, and it's free right
Exactly.
now.
All of them are free. That's like at least $1,500 in free classes. So go to the ACT website and or just type in Grand MA2 classes on Google. It'll pop up. Trust me. And go to their official website and enroll. It's absolutely free. It's a pretty cool class online. You get to it's literally a class, and it comes with quizzes and everything to make sure that you remember things, even the simplest things. That way, it's just starting to be a habit. So I recommend going and checking out that because it's free, and I can't stress it enough how expensive that is when it's not free, and it's free until June. So go and do that. And then we got Adrian from Jacob's Church asked, do you collaborate with worship on stage setups? So Jacob, why don't you answer that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to say Adrian works with me, so I'm sure he already knows that.
Right. But how about for everybody else, just so they know?
Yeah. So it's an interesting topic. For the longest time, the production was, we kind of set the tone of what we were going to do on stage. However that was, from rise replacements to band placements, it's been of like, this is what we're doing, this is what it is, like, but we've kind of changed. We're trying to work more into the collaborate with each other, just because it's as much as we are, it's, I like to say it's like my workspace, but it's also their workspace. So that's been one of my challenges and one of my things to work on this year, is to really create with worship and hear them out on what they need, and what works for them and what doesn't work for them in production and what doesn't work for them. So I'd say we're still trying to figure that out. I don't think there's any secret answer to that or any advice I can give, but that's my take on it. Griffin?
Yeah, so we're kind of in the same boat. We for a lot of years, production was like, hey, we'll design the stage, we got it, don't worry about it. And it all kind of culminated to a couple of years ago for a conference that we were doing at the church, and we had the drums up on like a 4 foot or like 4 or 5 foot tall riser, and the drummer at the time was like, I don't want to play on that. I don't want to be that high. I don't want to be up there. And so it's a funny example, but it really is a greater scope of let's all figure it out together. from a production standpoint, like we know what looks good on video, we know what looks good for lighting, but the worship team may also have workflows that are going to work well for them. So we try to really all work together on figuring out what that's going to look like. Now, from a technical standpoint, from like the LED wall, from rigging ability in our room to where the LED wall can hang and what kind of ways it can hang, there are kind of some hard rules and some hard guidelines that you have to go with. But when it comes to the kind of the creative space, riser placement, things like that, get creative and get the advice of your worship teams, because a lot of times they'll have situations or reasons why they would want it a certain way that may help you decide why it can, help or not help, or just open the conversation up.
Definitely. I think collaborating with the worship team is one of the most important things when it's when you're a church lighting designer, especially since you're trying to convey what they want to convey because they are the worship leaders. And at Harvest, we definitely take that to heart. I'm always talking with our worship leaders and saying, "Hey, what were you thinking about the set for this, or a vibe, or look, or maybe even a stage changeover, or trying it in the round?" And building those relationships are really important because I think there has been in the past a feud between production and worship. Most of the time, it's with the audio guys and worship. Um, Mostly because like
The
turn your
noise
amp down
voice.
or stop drumming so hard or something like that. Um,
It's the real thing is how many amps can you fit on stage?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
How cool can we look?
so yeah, I think that's you guys said that perfectly. Collaborating with the worship team is definitely a team effort, and then just hearing them out, especially that sometimes all they want to do is be listened to and know that at least their thoughts are heard, as with anybody.
Yeah.
So Jacob, someone asked what company do you use for your installs. This came from Joshua. Why don't you tell us who installed
So
your
we
system? I
just,
guess
yeah. I guess I don't use anybody to install our
that's right.
systems. It's
You do.
all
I think he
ourselves.
means
Yeah.
maybe who
I
you
mean,
buy from,
yeah.
but
I mean,
I don't know.
we buy from normally. I have a few options. It just depends what I'm trying to buy. Bulk stuff I buy through our company called Clark, just because that's what's been in place, um, and it is what it is. But can't do much changes about that. But in terms of installs and infrastructure, how systems work, it's all done by myself and
Yeah.
Adrian. And then even before that was Noah and I.
Yeah,
So
same here.
we haven't done any major infrastructure change.
Right. Yeah, we
So
we install our own designs and everything. Um, we buy through E2I. Um, for lighting at least right now. I'm hoping to switch that over to audio. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I would also caution if you're a church that's just starting doing set design and changeovers, and it's a big set, don't hang anything that is unsafe to hang or that you can't trust that your infrastructure can handle it. Bring in a professional. Doesn't matter what company it is, but
Yes.
make sure that they're a certified engineer or have one on staff at that company, and make
systems
sure
and like
that your rigging is done properly. Because I can't tell you how many failed attempts I've seen on the Facebook groups of installs and
Yeah.
rigging. And
Yeah, I think a lot of
yeah,
people don't want to hear the hard truth, but the hard truth is, if you can afford to buy the gear, but then you can't afford to make sure it hangs safely, you couldn't afford
that's
the
right.
gear. We contract in a structural engineer to recertify our building before every stage change. So everybody sees, pics and photos of Highlands, and we've got these, big, huge, massive stage designs and huge LED walls. We have that, structurally, that's a hard word to say, checked out by an engineer, every time we do a stage change. So I would say, if you
A the website here for ACT. Um, so yeah, it's just www.actlighting.com. Um, and yeah, go check that out. I can't add it on here, but it's pretty easy. www.actlighting.com. And then there's also a code to get the classes for free. Thanks, Adrian, for posting that. It's ACT code ACT for me, the number 4, and then ME. And yeah, put that in to get your free classes from them. What do you use for distribution and DMX nodes, etc.? Do you guys use any specific data distribution for your systems?
Yeah, I can take that. So for us, we're running fully networked gear. So we use the Pathway Pathport systems. It allows you to, log in remotely from, anywhere on the network and make changes, make adjustments. So I have a full-size Grand MA2 and a network processing unit by MA to kind of give the horsepower for our rig at Highlands. And then those two devices are hitting the Pathway network and then going to the stage where it distributes out to streaming ACN data to all the DMX fixtures. So we run mostly Martin products, all purchased through E2I. And so we have DMX distributors that we're doing DMX to the fixture. So what's really cool about that setup actually is when we do stage flips, I actually don't address anything in the air. Most all newer fixtures, most all newer gear has RDM capability and pathway to talk to all those fixtures. So I'll actually just hang things physically where I want them to be, make sure they have power and make sure they have data, and then we'll fly everything out to trim, and then I'll actually do all of my addressing and all of that kind of stuff remotely. Even change, the mode the fixture's running in, pan or tilt, invert, all that kind of stuff. I can kind of change through the network. So super cool system to check out. That's Pathway. We use Pathport.
Awesome.
On my end, I am using, in terms of processing, we have two Grand MA2 NPUs, network processing units as well. We have one up in the catwalk, and that's all just for catwalk stuff. We used to have it down on back behind stage because it was our primary. It was used, we have Doug Cleaner Optos, which pretty much split everything to wherever it needs to go. But we had a lot of stuff in the catwalk when we had movers up there. We had rush bars up there. We had a lot of DMX stuff up there. And the way the building was built, it wasn't built for having DMX, I guess, up there. It was more of dimming heavy. So there's dimming everywhere, but there's no like DMX ports up there. Like there's maybe 5. And you have to tie those back in another room backstage, which is kind of annoying to do. So what I ended up doing is buying a used NPU from MA or used MA2 NPU. And so essentially have one backstage and I have one up in the catwalk. So they both handle 2 separate things. And then it gives me a crap ton of parameters that I have because at times I was renting a second NPU to run large shows. So now having 2, whenever anybody comes in, it's like we have the horsepower, whether it's media servers or whatever it is, to do that. And then if I didn't touch on the optos, we use the Doug Cleaner isolated opto stuff, which is awesome. Pathport's also awesome.
Yes.
But we had Doug Cleaner, and I love it. So I don't have all the fancy RDM technology to do what Griffin does, but everything that goes in our in the air has a motor, so everything's pretty much everything's flyable. So that's not normally a problem.
Awesome.
So Doug Cleaner and 2 MANPUs.
Sweet.
Oh.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I forgot. We have a 4-port node from MA also.
Nice. I just have a 12-port pathway distribution. I forget what it's called. It's essentially just splits out. Takes ArtNet in, splits out 12 universes out. So that's all I got. It's copper running everywhere. No fancy nodes or anything. I would love to upgrade to that, but I really want fixtures first.
Yeah.
This is a really good question from Braxton. If there's enough time, there's always enough time for this question. How do you handle burnout? This is actually helping a lot right now, honestly. The whole quarantine thing.
Yeah, start a virus.
You start a virus,
Everyone
that's how you fix
quarantine, and that's how you handle burnout.
Yes. I would say if it wasn't a quarantine situation, like Christmas time, for instance, how do you keep your staff and even if you have volunteers from saying, "All right, I'm done with the stress. Peace out." I like to make sure either before or after Christmas this year I did a really stupid thing, and I did it in the middle of the Christmas season. Like, I think we went the third week of December, the week or second week of December. So it was like literally in the middle of the chaos. Thank God I have Nicholas who works with me. Shout out to Nicholas Valdez, your boy Nick on Instagram. Um,
Hey Nick.
he kind of took the reins while I went on vacation because um, it was crazy. I recently went part time because I wanted to do more freelance and just start my business up. Um, and it was just a lot doing, trying to start the business, doing, trying to get the gigs for the business to do and sell stuff, and also doing things at Harvest on the side. And I just need a break. So I forced myself to take a vacation. And sometimes that's what you have to do is you have to force yourself to take a vacation. Normally I would take a vacation before the Christmas season, like in November or in January. In this case, it was right in the middle, but normally I would suggest anytime you have a busy season like Easter or Christmas coming up, just take a week off, take a weekend off. Sometimes all you need is 2 days. For me, I need at least 3 days. So, and just literally disconnect from, or at least try to disconnect mentally from designing, data distribution, plotting, whatever stresses you out about those items, and just focus on enjoying life too. Some people don't suffer from burnout. Some people do. I beg to differ that you don't. But tell us how you guys approach it when it is actually busy, unlike now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you got to set boundaries. So like we have some boundaries that we have set as a production team and even broader as like a church staff. So like for example, an email at Highlands has to be answered within 24 hours. When an email hits your inbox, a fake, virtual 24-hour countdown clock hits, and you need to respond to that email within 24 hours.
Wow.
Besides that, if it's one of our unless it's one of our 12 lead team pastors like texting you directly about an issue, besides that, you don't have to answer your phone or answer texts at any time. Unless you're at, like, if it's the middle of the workday, obviously answer your phone calls. But if you're at home at night, whatever, it can wait till tomorrow. So I would say set boundaries. There should always be, in my opinion, one form of communication that you can be reached. So like for Highlands as a staff, for us that's the email. So like if you email me, a 24-hour countdown started, and you know that you're going to get the response you need within a day. Besides that, if I'm off and you text me, I don't have to feel a burden to text you back, because the rules and the guidelines have lifted that burden off my shoulders, where now I don't feel like I'm ignoring you. And then outside of that, I would say each person just needs to find what refreshes them and do it. So, whether it's a hobby, if it's going on vacation, I'll usually try to schedule 2 or 3 little vacations in the year. And a lot of times I'll go see somebody, like I'll go see a Jacob or a Chris, see how somebody else is doing it, but don't allow yourself to like get too technically into it. Also, just be connecting with a friend, go on trips, go on vacation. But also don't allow that to be a crutch. So, like, if I have vacation scheduled for next week and this week is Christmas, I don't get to treat everybody horribly and remind them that I'm just trying to get to vacation next week. That's a heart problem. If you're, if you're so desperate for that vacation the next week, that you feel like you have to act differently to let everybody know next week I'm on vacation, don't mess with me. You got to take things off your plate. I'm about 3 years into being on staff at Highlands, is where you don't have to. Now, if it's your job, it's your job. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Amen.
That last comment you said, like, you need to do this event, like you feel like you have to be everywhere, like, oh, I need to do this event, like I'm missing out, or like, there's this event next week, I want to do it too, or like the school has a play next week, like I want to do it all, like, because I had that mentality for a while, like I wanted to do all events, like great, like more lights I can turn on, whatever, the more fun it is. But you have to set boundaries. And for me, back when it was just me, once Noah had left, it was all lighting was just straight under me, so I had no help other than volunteers. But we hired Adrian, and Adrian is, like you said about Nick, has been, my second Jesus Christ Lord and Savior. Like, He has come through
Amen.
in so many ways. It has definitely made my life 10 times more enjoyable, where you actually enjoy going to work. So I think we try to create a good balance of what we do. We've created this kind of system where there's some events he'll do, there's some events that I'll do. He's been kind of handling all the academy school play stuff, and he's been doing great at that stuff. But I think just like Griffin said, having a balance, and the other key thing that you mentioned was taking time off to just go visit people, that kind of do something similar as you. It doesn't need to be all technical and you need to get on to the nitty gritty, but just visiting people, hanging out with them. Like I touched on this earlier, but visiting Oklahoma, like that was awesome. It was like a refresher course. I was pre-visiting out there, but it was also nice to just kind of get away and, talk with Daniel, for a few days and just hear stories from him, back when he was at Church on the Move, back when his company was tiny, this and that. So it was super cool. And then my other break, I got to shout him out. My other break is DMing Chase Hall on Instagram about fun stuff.
Speaking of Chase Hall,
Since he's in
Chase
chat.
has joined the chat. If you want one of the best out there, go follow.
Where do I get my
Go
inspiration
follow
from?
Chase. He's
Alright.
right there in the chat. It's Chase Lights on Instagram, right? Yes. Please hope I didn't get that wrong.
I'm confused. He wanted a
He
headset,
wants to join
and
in.
now he needs his
Now he
TV.
needs
I
all the
asked
attention
him
on him
if
right
he
now.
wanted to be on here a while ago. I won't go into that. In the future, we're gonna have another one of these. So
Wow.
it's Chase Lights on Instagram. Go follow him. he's he's gonna hate me for saying that. Anyways, but there he is.
That's
Go
Hugh
follow
Lights
him.
back there, by
Chase
the way.
Lights. He's in the chat. Who else is in the chat? Kyle Russellberg is in the chat. He asks us, "What's?" Oh no, that wasn't
I
Kyle.
the
This is
Chase
Cody.
would follow me.
Cody Kyle asks, "What's in your Pelican?" So why don't you tell us what's in your Pelican case? Do you have a Pelican case?
I do have a Pelican. It's my room. It's just tools. Nothing fancy. T-wrench. Lots of crescent wrenches. It's more of like what's in my backpack. My Pelican's literally just tools.
Yes.
Zip ties,
Crescent wrench.
flush cuts, all sorts of stuff like that. Nothing fancy. I did get some nice TSA locks in the mail today, though,
Heck
because I was
yeah.
tired of TSA ripping off and cutting my locks off
Yeah. That's no fun.
when I traveled. So, Griffin, are you in the Pelican fan?
Yeah.
You got to make sure number one and put a Charlie Pike sticker on
Oh,
it. Shout
dude,
out to my
he
boy.
just sent mine.
I do have one of
Excited
those.
for that one.
So if you don't have one, you got to get a Charlie Pike sticker. But
Yes.
yeah, I've got a
Yeah.
Pelican. I'll usually keep crescent wrench is a great tool. The multi tools, if you've ever seen those, the like tools, they've got one end is kind of some different sized openings to fit around a lot of different, traditional wrench type clamps, different bolt sizes, that kind of thing. And I've actually got one with a little circuit tester on it, so I can actually test a circuit to give me a small amount of troubleshooting if I'm at a location that's having some issues, or they've got something funky going on. And then e-tape is a big one, and a good pair of gloves, because you never know what you're getting into.
E-tape, man, that's the other Jesus Christ
E-tape
Savior right there.
In case you're wondering, Chase says his Pelican is literally Famous Amos cookies, 4 Roses bourbon, and Gold Bond powder. You can't say no to any of
Okay,
that. I love that.
I gotta shout out my audio guys. He's got a Pelican, literally full of coffee stuff, like everything you need in there. He's got like scale, he's got a grinder, he's
Who
got
does this?
different roasts. Like it's awesome. This is our audio
Oh,
engineer, like monitor
Bless
guy.
his soul.
And
I mean,
yeah, he's literally has everything. He's like, hey, you want a coffee? He's just like backstage, just like.
I'm not
Like that's
disagreeing
goals.
with Chase, but I'm just saying I'm not going to confirm or deny it. But a glass of bourbon may help with programming. I can't confirm it, but I can't deny it.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with red wine.
Oh, yes. Yes, please.
Now I'm speaking Chris's language now.
I have always been more of a
Okay.
wine person. Alright. More questions. We're just going here, y'all. Why not? We've got nowhere to be
No
tomorrow.
work tomorrow. Yeah.
Actually, I
Hey,
do have
Chase,
to
if
go
you
in
want to put
tomorrow,
on a headset and get on Skype, Jump on, bro. I'm not gonna say no.
Chase, join us.
Get on the Skype
Isn't it
call.
like midnight over
I
in the
could
East Coast?
fandangle this. I have an extra slot right here. Where is it? Right
Submit for
here.
you.
Um, so yeah.
You have to get a
Or we
TV
put
light.
him in next time. I have a feeling we're gonna have to do more of these because I've just been getting nonstop questions and people like, "Oh, we need more of these." What? Like, don't you watch MXU? I'm kidding. By the way, go check out MXU. They have awesome
Yes,
content
they've
and
got
they have
lighting
lighting now. Our friend Daniel Connell is hosting the lighting
Thank
sessions on
God.
there, and again, that is another resource that I highly recommend you go check out. MXU now has lighting, so those of you just learning lighting, maybe you're in a church, just started, or want to learn more, go check it out. The primary goal of this YouTube page that I started is to talk more about tech and gear, and then talk with people like these, just about how they approach different things, what gear they like, and stuff like that. So I didn't talk about that starting out, but now
Jackie teaches some WYSIWYG tricks.
seriously, I need
Yes.
some WYSIWYG training. I'm about to buy it. I'm building a computer right
Big time.
now for it.
That's what I'm doing my
Someone
time
just
off is
asked a
learning WYSIWYG.
question and I've lost it. Oh, um, someone asked, where is the list of resources available that's free? I'm going to go ahead and put the Instagram up here that you could go follow. They just put it on their story right now to coincide with this live feed, and it's E2I Design. So you'll check them out. That's their Instagram handle. I keep pointing the wrong area because I'm flipped. So go follow E2I Design. And I also want to say thank you for being the official sponsor of this YouTube channel. um,
Are they still in here?
I think Kyle
Yeah,
is,
then.
yeah. So, again, they just put a story up and it's got a list of all the free resources, free classes, free training from almost every lighting manufacturer, audio manufacturer out there. I think they're mostly doing lighting. I'm sure a lot of audio people are doing free training also on their stuff. And yeah, so go follow them out. I love the guys at E2I. Kyle Russellberg is in here right now from E2I. You go follow him, ask him any questions if you want to go buy some gear or just have more questions about anything. So, there you go. Shout out.
Cody answered a question. I think it was about $600, if I remember correctly.
For WYSIWYG?
WYSIWYG that just got it.
I think it's
Yeah. For performance or spot, whatever it's
yeah.
called.
I
softwares.
I saw it for like
The one for the touch
1400,
console
I
is
think.
more.
But I think that might have been
Well, I
really
guess when
like
when
expanded.
you factor in the shipping and all that, it's like $1,200.
Yeah. What plays into your fixture choices for your events? Oh, I like this one. Chase Hall's BMFLs, am I right? Actually, funny story about the BMFL. I got in trouble not too long ago. I was on a gig up at the Griffith Observatory. I talked to Chase about this too. And we were just like, how bright is the BMFL? And I'm like, bright enough to hit the Hollywood sign. And they're like, you wouldn't. And I'm like, let's do it. So I moved the fixture and hit the Hollywood sign from the Griffith Observatory. And I think it's about a few miles, 5 miles away or something like that. Maybe less. I don't know. I haven't done the math. But it's definitely far. And the light hit it. So I put another light and it's lit up like daylight. It's insane. So the BMFL is an extremely bright light. And literally seconds after lighting it up, I got this lady running over who was from the Griffith Observatory. And she goes, turn that light off! What the heck are you doing? In more explicit ways. And I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that that we were shooting the lights over there, even though we were. So, apparently you're not supposed to light up the Hollywood sign. It's a big no-no. And nobody told me why. Maybe you know why in the chat. Go ahead and tell us. But I sure as heck do not know what the big deal was. No one else knew. The client was like, I don't know what the big deal was. But that lady was really mad, but it looked really cool. So for at least a minute, you could see the Hollywood sign lit up all over the place. And that was all our doing.
Funny story. I did a show down at the waterfront. We have like a waterfront park, and it's right next to like San Diego International Airport. And it was like a rave EDM kind of style thing. And we had these axioms that were just like on these ladders, and there was like 15 axioms per ladder, and it was just like blaring. And every now and then we hear on the radio the guy's like, "Hey, the freaking FAA airport is calling us, telling us that you need to turn down those beams because it's like heading over there by the planes, and they're seeing that they think it's lasers, this and that. Like,
That's
when you
insane.
have the airport calling you.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we are right next to an airport, Harvest. Like literally, the back of our parking lot, there's a runway, and it's not a. It's
Oh, that's
closed at 4 or 5, something like that. So it's just unmanned at the evening hours. And I'm like surprised we haven't been called by the FAA at all for anything we've done, because we have done some crazy things there, and I'm sure some planes have not been able to land during our events. But I'm actually really impressed how I got yelled at for lighting the Hollywood sign, but not blinding pilots at an airport.
That's great.
I do have a question for Griffin. So you guys are still open?
Do what?
You guys are still open over there. What's on your docket tomorrow?
Oh, so the church office is closed now except for required staff, and so broadcast is a part of that. We're pre-recording things during the week to play on the weekends. So most all churches are dealing with that right now, and then we're also dealing with the added level of having a college, because the college normally has 2 services a week. So tomorrow we're actually recording the college services, the chapel services for our college for Tuesday and Thursday. So, and then we have also been a testing site. So I have been testing people.
Testing? What does that look like?
Yeah.
So we have been
sanitary
a testing
testing?
site for COVID-19, like the swab test.
Oh, for the flu,
Like COVID testing.
the coronavirus.
No, for COVID.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's
COVID.
insane.
Like
I don't want
the
that job.
Yeah,
You'd
so
stay
I
far
haven't,
away
I
from
haven't been
me.
anywhere close to anybody with coronavirus, but they have been having our staff help with like data entry into the system. Essentially, like when you go to the doctor, all of the medical systems that they enter in your information into, we've been doing a lot of that data entry for them. So it's
Wow.
been interesting times.
That's insane.
That's really
I can't imagine doing that. We were essentially just doing deflection. Like some people wouldn't get the announcements, we're still showing it to the church, and we're like, "Yes, sorry, we're not open live in person, but we're open online. Go check out the service online." Yada yada.
Yeah, we've had to do the same. We've had to do the same.
Do you wear a nurse outfit? Kyle asks.
It's a hazmat suit. It's no joke.
Oh
I've been
my
in a hazmat
gosh, that's
suit.
great. Have you taken any of your fixtures out during a foggy night just to see how far it can be seen? Absolutely. Anytime I get a beam
Yes.
fixture, we put that thing outside and see if we can hit a mountain in the distance. So, but we
I
should probably
got
answer
the new-
seriously the question about how do you spec fixtures for your. I guess we could start with install, and then, or just in general, like it doesn't have to be if you need to buy it because it's the same principles whether you're buying or renting. I would imagine. For me, if I were specking a fixture, um, it depends on what it's doing. So recently, the most recent purchase was we bought these Chave Freedom Pars, which that video goes live tomorrow. This is all just flowing so nicely.
We've got the Freedom
Yeah,
Pars
they're
as
great.
well.
So that review slash explanation of what they do video is going to be posted on this page tomorrow. So if you want to know what the Freedom Pars from Chave are, go check them out on this video that I'm going to post tomorrow morning. But message restricted. I don't know why it's restricting messages from Chase. He probably tried to say something bad. Anyways, so recent purchase, we purchased the Chave Freedom Pars, and here's why. So we need a fixture that was really quick to set up, and we could put it anywhere, not have to worry about it, and if it broke, it's small. But mostly because we kept renting uplights, like not cheap uplights either, like the Elation 6 Pars or some fixture that was like 70, $50 each to rent or something like that. Or we'd rent. Sorry, Chase is distracting me. Anyways, so we rented it just because we have so many events. We have palm trees out in the front that we want to uplight with different colors for seasons, and we have youth events that happen. We have a youth ministry that they're like, hey, we're doing a 50% night. We want 50% more people to show up. we want to make it different, cool, interactive for the new people, so we add some uplights in there. Boom, instant change of the atmosphere. So when specking that, it was the big thing. Obviously, is cost, especially because we're just in a crazy time right now. Um, so we're just like, what's the lowest cost fixture that'll do everything I need to do? I could DMX, run DMX to it if I need to, or I could run it wirelessly and not have to worry about power for a few hours. Obviously, there's a lot of options out there, but for me, the Chave DJ Freedom Pars were just perfect for that. But when specking fixtures, I always like to make sure, can I use it for a lot of things? Like the Chave DJ, those Freedom Pars, I used them on a TV show not too long ago, and they work great on camera. So I remember seeing that. So boom, now I know I can use it in my sanctuary on camera and not worry about flickering or any kind of blooming or anything. So that was nice. They're really portable. They charge in the case. They can do wireless DMX. They're battery powered for like 12 hours if you keep them on a color. So big things when considering a fixture is what's it going to be used for, how many different uses you could use it for. What about you guys? Give me your thoughts, Jacob.
On that light.
No, just what to think about when you're specking a light for anything.
Mm, it just
Like,
depends
for instance,
what
I
I'm trying
know
to
you
do.
guys are buying the new ERAs from Martin.
Yes,
Tell
the
us what
new
went
ERA
behind choosing them,
600.
what the whole evaluation process was, because I know you weren't originally going with those fixtures. Tell us that
Yeah,
story.
it was a whirlwind of emotions. Man, it was a roller coaster of trying to
Yeah.
figure out what we were going to get. Um, for a while, I was really into. She was looking cute. The Airton Ghiblies. I really liked those fixtures, but they were also pretty dang expensive. Um, so then we kind of moved away from that, and then we had a possibility of going down the clay packy route. My rep who used to work for VL moved over to clay packy, and he was trying to sell us the axe cores, 600s, I believe is what it is. It's the equivalent of the era. But he was trying to sell us those and some new Sharpies and stuff for a really good deal. But then I also really liked the Martin stuff. Like, I saw them at LDI. I didn't get to get a demo in our actual room. But after doing some comparisons of, different spec sheets and talking to different people about different fixtures and cost of what stuff's going to use, I would love to have clay packy, but in terms of cost, that stuff's expensive. You need to repair something. I've always heard there's just nothing but expensive fixtures to do. Like, last thing I want to do is me or Adrian be up there and trying to figure out how to fix a clay packy or like figure out how much that's going to cost us.
Oh, Italian fixtures, am I right?
Yeah. But the price point was, it was attractive.
It's
so,
true.
We were really close to going to clay packy. They were going to offer us all sorts of different, terms and stuff. And then Lucas comes in and swoops us up in the Martin
You're welcome.
realm and got us a deal. And,
I literally
so we went
called
to
Lucas and I'm like,
Martin.
hey, why isn't Jacob buying Martin lights? And he's like, he's buying lights? And I'm like, yeah, he's about to buy clay packy lights. Why isn't he buying Martin lights?
Yeah, I'm about to buy 26
And he's
movers.
like, he didn't tell me he was looking to buy lights. And I'm like, then you should give him a call.
Yeah.
Martin should totally give me a cut of that
So,
sale.
and then we,
Just saying.
yeah, that was another thing is like, do we get the 800s or 600s? So there's another thing of that. I could have done 800s, but honestly, I think those are great lights. But I don't know. Right now, we have a bunch of 3000s, so I think that 600s would have been the amount of 600s that we're getting and stuff would have been a good substitution. The 800s would have been great. Don't get me wrong, but to spend that price point, on just having something bigger wasn't necessarily something that I cared for. Because the brightest thing we have right now is our Airfx's. Those are pretty bright. Those beat out our VLs and stuff. So I wasn't too worried about getting anything like an 800, and I knew a 600 would do me well, being a LED Viper equivalent. And don't get me wrong, I was a huge VL fanboy for a long time. VLs were my kind of lights. I loved what they do. I knew how to fix them in and out. Any kind of problem you had, like I was on top of it. Noah and I were like VL techs.
VL.
And like, yeah, we have 32 of them right now in the house. I'm probably still going to keep them, trying to sell them. Probably not going to sell them, but I'll probably keep them and use them for
That was
body
my
and
situation.
squash
I
and
just
whatnot.
had to give away Mac 2000s because they weren't selling. And I'm like, well, at this point, I'm going to just donate them to a high school theater and bless them. So good luck to them.
Yeah.
Broken magenta wheels, the fact that keeps on giving.
It's better than buying brand new
Yo,
lights, I
just
guess.
help
So
with-
we'll see.
Hey, light parts and Texas, hit them up. They keep your VLs
It's
kicking
true.
for many years.
It's true. Griffin, what about you? Specking a new fixture, what's the process you go through? Say, like, let's focus on key lighting, because I know that's a big thing for a lot of churches right now when they're talking about web streaming. Yeah. What is the most important thing for you specking a key lighting fixture, and why?
So first, I would say, what is the problem that we're trying to resolve? What is the solution that we're trying to get to? So if it's key light, we're going to be needing to work in terms of CTB, CTO correction, and then I'd look at price point for the product. So where is your best, where is your best bargain at? You don't want to do something. You don't want to make a decision that's going to hurt the church in the long run of, cost of maintenance being high, et cetera, having to replace it. But you also may not necessarily need like whatever the top of the line product is. There's always a product for every application. One thing that we do at the church is we will not buy something if we don't have the margin to buy a spare one or two of it. And the reason for that being is just in a pinch, you wouldn't want to be in a situation where it's not a good life lesson, whether it's buying fixtures or creating a budget for your church or even just in your personal life. Always be able to have margin in every situation. So we try to have margin in our actual gear itself so that we're not having to use everything we have all the time. That also allows you to have some inventory on hand where, if you're trying to do something special or you have a special event or what in the world, coronavirus, you have some extra things that you can use, to help create an environment in a situation where you may not necessarily be in your normal bread and butter, what you do every week type of situation. So I would just say, what application would be the first thing? Then secondly, I would look at the value of it because you are spending, at the end of the day, you're spending church money, you're spending tithes. So making sure that you steward that money well and then just building margin into your purchases. So
yes.
And the note on 2 spares is key. With these 600s, I'm going to have 2 spares, 2 full spares.
Amen.
Which would be awesome.
I don't have any spares, so I'm kind of screwed. The whole reason. That's why I bought 4. So I guess technically 2 are spares, but they're actually up in the rig.
My VL spares are us going up there and fixing them.
Oof. Yes.
Me and Adrian, no joke, used to have like 3 spares at all hands, and then we just gave up because it was just like so many times.
Oh my gosh.
Do that.
How do you guys deal with maintenance? Like, is there a maintenance plan you guys deal with? Especially now? Do you use this time right now to do a lot of maintenance? I know we are. We're like, oh my gosh, we've got a month of nothing going on. Let's clean everything. So that's the next month of my life is dusting fixtures off. And a friend asked that question. And he also asked if we still have Mac 250 washes and spots at Harvest. Yes. Yes, we do.
Wow,
yes.
We just got rid of our 250s.
Literally, we are probably the last. I'm kidding. We're probably not the last. But they're running. They still run. No issues. So, except for
ours
some
still
shuttles,
run no issues. Ours still run no issues at all. We gave them away to a church a couple weeks ago, actually. Yeah, I love them.
I'm excited to upgrade them hopefully in the next year here. But yes, this whole month will be used maintaining those very old rugged lights. What about you guys?
Yeah, we for maintenance, we have so many campuses. It can be a interesting mountain to climb. For us, we have a full-time production staff member at every. So we have permanent locations and portable locations. Permanent locations are our buildings we own. We either built them or we bought them and outfitted them to be whatever we needed them to be. And then we have portable campuses, which may be schools, school gymnasiums, rec centers, you name it, we're in it, theaters. And so what we do is we have a full-time production staff at permanent buildings, which are campuses we own. And so they handle maintenance for the video and the lighting gear. So one thing that we do is we do only LED stage fixtures at campuses. So like it's mainly the Quantum Profile and the Mac Aura, and then like the Color Force, 12, the Color Force 48. for this being is it's less, it's less pull on the full-time staff person at a campus to handle maintenance. Really, the only thing they're having to worry about is changing out lamps and front light, which we're even starting to move a lot of our front light over to LED to try to help, cut down on some of that maintenance time and even maintenance cost. But maintenance that you should always be following is dusting out your fixtures. A clean fixture is a happy fixture. You'll get a whole lot less issues out of something that's clean versus something that's dirty. And then at our broadcast location where I am, I have the Viper, so I have to do a lamp change about every 800 or so hours. It usually ends up working out where it's about every stage change for us. We're able to relamp and clean them real well. And funny story actually about maintenance. We did a live recording about a year ago, and we own 24 of the Vipers, and we rented an additional 30 that we hung on our sidewalls to cover our iMac screens, to cover our projector screens, because for recording, you don't normally would run camera in the room. And so we just wanted something that you could kind of see on camera. So we rented in Vipers for the sidewalls. Well, when they came in, almost none of them would color mix.
Oh no.
And we literally thought we had 30 Vipers that none of them would color mix. Come to find out, tore one of them apart, and it was the color module actually just had so much oil-based haze on it that the actual sliders weren't able to slide to actually mix color. So whatever color, the last color they were in, they were stuck in that color. So there was like some lights stuck in white, some stuck in cyan, and some stuck in magenta. And we just had no idea. We were like overwhelmed, didn't even know like where to begin to get them working again. And turns out that it was just a little bit of maintenance that they needed, a little bit of cleaning. So that story to say, cleaning is crucial. It'll provide you long life for your fixture. It'll be more efficient, and it'll do what you need it to do.
That's how I kept my VLs happy for many years.
Amen. Same. Well, it's been, how long have we been streaming here? It says we've been streaming for 2 hours and 34 minutes, and we still have loyal viewers. So,
Yeah.
I don't think I saw any more questions come through other than Chase causing havoc in here. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Someone did say they would love to say, I think that might have been Chad. Yes, he said Chave R2 versus Aura versus BIs. That's one of the things we're going to do in here. We're actually going to do live shootouts on the page with different fixtures of comparable sizes and outputs and color mixing, so that way you can see these shootouts that you hear so much about, like, oh, this fixture's like 2,000 lumens brighter than this fixture. Is it really, though? You'll find out. So we're going to post a lot of that stuff on this page coming up here soon. So make sure you subscribe and get notified when that happens. And let's see here. Someone asked specifically, when you go to clean, are you just blowing out through the grills or taking the shell apart? For us, we take the whole fixture apart. The shell, the base, take out the filters if it has it, and just blow that thing out. We even wipe it down afterwards so it looks really nice and new. And what about you guys?
Yeah, we open them all the way up. We will, like for our Vipers, we'll take the side plates or side pieces off. Filters come out, filters get replaced. Open up the base, take out the base filters, replace them. We'll open it up as much as we can or as much as we feel comfortable. There's several of us who are actually Mac Attack trained, so we'll actually a lot of times do our own repairs as well. But if that's that you don't have any experience with, or you wouldn't want to do anything to break it any further to cause any more dollars that have to be spent. So I would say just use your own good judgment, to take it apart and replace filters, clean the insides, all that good kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Agreed. Keep your lamps happy, your reflectors happy, your lenses happy, your gobos happy, and color wheels happy, and you're good.
Amen. All right, I think it's time to wrap this thing up and thank everyone for coming. I really want to thank you guys for staying all up. You said, Griffin, you have to work tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there about 8 o'clock doing a little stage check.
Oh my gosh, it is what, like almost 12 your time right now?
It's 11:30.
Oh
it's okay.
gosh.
I'll be up till
Nice.
2.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. So I'm gonna do some house cleaning here. I really want to give a shout out to eToy Design for sponsoring the page. I keep pointing the wrong spot. I don't know why. But yes, go follow them. Really great guys. Love all the guys there. We're doing a swag giveaway. So go on my Instagram and find out how to win this swag. These guys just won swag for being a part of this. And everyone in this chat is eligible to be entered twice. So I'm gonna go through and add all your names into the randomizer twice. So we'll see who wins. I got this cool app. It takes all these names and juggles them up and picks one. So I'm gonna add all you in double.
How do I enter?
Uh, there's a post on my Instagram. I think it's the most recent post of me and Nick holding a YouTube channel sign, or it looks like it.
That's right. Okay.
So you just have to like that and tag 2 friends. You don't have to because you're automatically going to get swag for being a part of this, so I thank you for that. But yeah, we're giving you a swag giveaway. Not only that, we've got, hang on, I got it all here. You get a free shirt if you win from E2I, but also we've got some cool swag from a local vendor out here, Kinetic Lighting. They're a rental vendor. They also, Chavez also sponsored us with a bunch of the Camsys dongles. You get one free universe of Camsys output, so you get to use the Camsys software for free, and you get to output DMX. So boom, free lighting console for your church. You don't have to worry about it. And I've got literally like 50 of these, so we're gonna give away a lot of these. So there's not gonna be like one winner or anything like that. There's literally gonna be like 20 winners, and you get one of these with a hat and shirts and jackets. And Limelight has also agreed to sponsor it, so they're gonna give out a jacket and stuff like that. And a ton of cool stuff from E2I. In fact, one of my favorites that they gave is this. It's a Yeti with their logo on it. It's pretty sick.
I need another one of those.
So this will be part of the grand prize winner, I guess, because it's a whole box of E2I swag. So big shout out to them. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring the page. Shout out to everybody in the chat for actually staying in and being part of this.
You're real Jack Lights.
Oh my gosh.
It's really gonna get bad. We need mods now.
We need mods. Anyways, thank you guys
Mods
for
next time.
tuning in. Thank you too for being a part of this. Go follow these guys.
Absolutely.
I posted about them on my Instagram, so they're tagged and ready to go follow them. That's Jacob from the Rock Church San Diego, and then Griffin from Church of the Highlands. And yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. And we're gonna do more of these. We're probably gonna do another little get-together thing. We'll definitely have to include Chase next time and Jack, because that would be a party.
Yes.
And we'll probably just talk, show like busking, but literally, how do you program? Are you macro heavy? Do you not like using macros? What kind of macros do you like that are your favorite? And that's just macros, so we can go on and on and on. So we're going to do a lot of that kind of stuff here in the future. And hopefully you come back and watch all of that.
What's a macro?
Oh, we're not going to talk about that today. A macro is something you need to tune in on our next live
shortcut
feed
to
to find out what
something.
it is.
Yeah, tune in.
Or you go subscribe and, not subscribe, enroll in the free ACT classes and learn for yourself for free what a macro is. But that's it. That's all for tonight. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of our viewers. Any last words? That's it.
Be safe, make responsible choices.
That's right. And
Yeah.
please, for the sake of all of us, wash your hands. Keep social distancing. If you don't have to go out and buy toilet paper, don't go out at all.
Awesome today.
And that's it. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.